Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here for the build-up show to a very exciting WWE show. Of course, that is Evolution 2, taking place tonight, of course, and it's also in Atlanta, where they've also held NXT Great American Bash and Saturday night's main event. But tonight it's all about the women of the WWE and a great opportunity for them. Loads of chatter around the kind of way it's been booked, but I got to be honest, the card is a very exciting one still. One I've been looking forward to all weekend, and we're getting through a very, very busy weekend of pro wrestling. And again, we're capping it off with what will hopefully be a very entertaining show. We'll talk about that and much more right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so once again, welcome back to the channel, guys. It is time to break down the card for WWE Evolution and get hyped up and in the mood for the show. If you're new here to the channel, welcome. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. And what we do here is get you guys and get us hyped up and ready for the big peely. And again, it is a big one indeed. Quite a few cards, matches on the card to go through. Not something that we usually see with WWE's booking these days. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out and how long the show is actually going to be. But again, you're tuned into the build-up show here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We're going to talk last-minute rumors. We're going to talk kind of go-home segments and stuff like that, and what's led to this weekend's extravaganza again out there in Atlanta. Thank you to everyone that joined us over the weekend. Of course, on Friday night's big preview, where we not only previewed this show originally, but the other three shows taking place this weekend as well, including, of course, the big AEW All In show. And again, thank you to everyone as well that would have joined us on the build-up show for Great American Bash and AEW, and those that joined us for Saturday night's main event. Quite a few stories coming out of those shows, of course. Maybe we'll touch on a little bit of that throughout the stream as well. But once again, I just want to welcome you in and say thank you so much for joining us. We are mainly going to focus on Evolution tonight, but I'm sure, again, there will be a few comments here and there, maybe wanted to touch on some of the other big stories as well. So we do welcome that, because, again, we appreciate it. It's a big old week in pro wrestling. How are you guys feeling, though? Hope you're enjoying the weekend. I got to be honest, guys, I am feeling very tired. As excited as I am feeling quite tired. But again, hopefully this show kind of perks us all up, because it's been a draining weekend for wrestling fans, you know. But all good stuff. Don't get me wrong. The shows have been fun, but it's just, there's a lot going on. There's a lot in the news cycle as well. Kim's in the house says, we want AJ Lee. Kim, I agree with you. I want to see AJ Lee return tonight. I actually think there's a really good chance of it, because, you know, and I mentioned this the other night on Friday night's big preview, the Rumble felt odd when she didn't show up, right? And then I was thinking, well, it's got to be for a reason. It has to be the right time. And, you know, I think Evolution 2 probably is the right time. So hopefully that'll be the big story coming out of it, as well as a few others as well, which, again, we'll get into later on. As I say, I did my original predictions on Friday, but we'll go through the card again in just a moment. We've had some breaking news since then, of course. Bianca Belair is now added to the Cargill and Naomi match. We'll touch on that later on. But we'll also revisit some of my original predictions. And later on, we'll be joined by Lucas, of course, a member of the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling team. And hopefully some of our friends from the wrestling media who are hoping to hop into the stream as well. So it's going to be a good one. And again, the idea is to kind of get us all hyped up and ready for this big show tonight, which, again, I'm very much looking forward to. Anyway, Kieran is in the house as well. Good to see you, Kieran, as always. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've been enjoying this fun weekend of pro wrestling. I am very, very excited to see what the women can do tonight. What else do we have? Let's have a look. I'm just trying to see what rumors we've got going around and stuff like that as well, about who might be showing up tonight. We've got is AJ Lee in the Rumble? Well, there isn't a Rumble. I was talking about last Royal Rumble where it looked like she might be showing up. and she didn't, so I feel like tonight is going to be the big night. We got comments here from Kim about Paige, also about Nikki Bella as well. Nikki Bella, of course, is going to be part of this show. She's actually on in the Battle Royal, which maybe that's what you're referring to, Kieran. Sorry, I should have realized when you said Rumble that you probably meant the Battle Royal. We'll get to the Battle Royal because there have been some names announced for that, and we know Nikki Bella's in it. We did know that when we were previewing it, of course, on Friday, but since then some new names have kind of popped up as well. I mean, they're never going to promote too many legends, so I imagine the legends are going to be more of the surprises. Speaking of which, one kind of former women's wrestler, or divas they would have been known at the time, Kelly actually come out and said that she's not going to be there. Basically said, look, I was honoured to be invited to Evolution 2, but the part was to sit in the audience, and for me, I wanted more, and when the time's right, sort of thing. And I don't want to be disrespectful to Kelly or anything like that, but what did she expect? I think last time around, though, most of the legends were in the Battle Royal. I don't think there'll be as many this time. And simply put, they are all, 7 years? Is that so? Yeah, 7 years out of the ring further since then. Those that haven't wrestled since then, those they're all getting older, and not like Kelly's higher in age or anything like that. She started very young in WWE, so not necessarily for her point here, but like a lot of these people haven't been in the ring for a long time, and that was one thing in 2018. But the level has risen so much, and I think 2018 was about kind of giving flowers to a lot of those that didn't get those opportunities before. And again, no disrespect to Kelly or any of the legends or anything like that. I'm hoping to see some former names, but some of them would have just been and will be clearly in the audience if they're starting to offer it to people like Kelly. There'll be others that they've offered that to as well. But that happens all the time. I mean, we saw the Steiners at ringside at Saturday night's main event. I don't think I expected to be in a Battle Royal or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't know what she wanted essentially. But I guess it was to have a bigger role and maybe have a match or something, which is hopeful. If Kelly's saying she wants to have a big role, then maybe they can get to a program with her. But yeah, I think the next best thing is to just at least be involved. WWE trying to, seems kind of shine a light on legends at ringside and stuff like that who paved the way. But yeah, again, we'll touch on a little bit more of that later on when we get to it. Kieran says, I want Nikki Bella to win the Battle Royal. Yeah, okay, get what you're saying. And also said John Cena will probably be there because of AJ Lee. Not gonna lie. What? Wait. Oh, okay. Because of their history and storyline, or like because of CM Punk. Where are we going with that? Kim says Ronda Rousey. Look, the thing is, Ronda Rousey was a huge part of the first Evolution. It would be a big surprise, but it's crazy how much people's opinions on Ronda dip so quickly. And this is something I want to dive into with the other guys on the show later on as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. But thanks for the comment, Kim. It is definitely a possible surprise that we could see in the Battle Royal. There's a few surprises we could see outside of the Battle Royal as well. Let's get to some of the matches itself. Kira says, didn't they have some sort of love? I mean, in storyline, they kind of did for a little bit. AJ Lee and Cena. Obviously, she was with Daniel Bryan, was valet to Dolph, and in real life went with CM Punk. I don't think it was anything in real life, but Nikki Bella, of course, did have quite a kind of well-known relationship with John Cena, so that'd be interesting if he is there. Let's get into it though. Let's break down the Evolution card. Lovely graphic here from WWE, by the way, showing off all the women we can see there. I wonder how many of those pictured aren't going to be on the show. I mean, with a Battle Royal, there's a lot you can squeeze in, don't get me wrong, but I do wonder if there's any there that we end up looking back on and go, oh, they weren't even on the show. Kim says, we want boss time. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Obviously, a huge part to play this weekend with her match, Mercedes Moné, of course, with the former Sasha Banks against Toni Storm, an incredible women's match, by the way. What a weekend it's been for wrestling and for women's wrestling. Again, we'll touch on that later on in the show a little bit more, I'm sure. Christopher says, I don't see Ronda Rousey showing up tonight. I don't either, Christopher, but stranger things have happened, right? But the last time we saw Ronda, she was bashing a company and not too pleased about certain things, but maybe time heals all wounds, as they say, and it hasn't been a lot of time, but money also heals wounds as well, I hear. But hey, Christopher, good to have you in the house, mate. Thanks for popping in once again. Keep your comments coming, guys. Again, we're going to go through the card here, and soon we'll throw it over to my original predictions before bringing in Lucas later on, and hopefully, as I say, some of our friends from the wrestling media world as well, as we like to do on these build-up shows. Let's get into the card, as I say, though. We've got Lyra facing off against Becky and Bayley for the Intercontinental Championship. This is one that I'm quite looking forward to, but it could go either way. This is honestly quite a hard one to pick. I think the one that seems least likely to some people would be Bayley, but at the same time, most deserving, in my opinion, would be Bayley. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Are you looking forward to this match? And have you enjoyed the feud so far? I've actually quite enjoyed it. I think it's made sense. It's made Lyra in some ways. Yes, she was already champion, but it kind of gives her the rub as far as Becky's storyline with her. Now it's also, in my opinion, done wonders for the Women's Intercontinental Championship as well. I know you can argue, these guys don't need it. It's for mid-card, talents or people kind of making their way in the business. But to give these titles kind of legs going forward, when Becky is retired and Bayley's retired, and in 15 years time or something, 20 years time, who knows how long they've got in them, but let's say we're way away from them being active in the ring, and they say, like they do with the US title today, former Hall of Famers have held this, and the same with the Intercontinental Championship on the men's side as well. So I do think that's something that they are smart in doing, basically giving it to Becky for that reason. And I also think Bayley should get it for that reason as well. Let me get to some of these comments here as we start heading into the card in a bit more detail very soon as well. Kieran says someone will defo interrupt during the Trish Stratus match, of course, against Tiffany Stratton, one of the big matches on tonight's show, simply because it is for a title. There are a few kind of possible ways that can go, and again, we'll get to that later on. Christopher says, predictions time. Yeah, we want to hear your predictions, guys. Get them in the chat, and let me know what you think is going to happen throughout the show. Lyra would win that back, says Kieran. Does think that Lyra's going to win the Intercontinental Championship. That's definitely a possibility, mate. But Kim disagrees and thinks Becky will be walking out as the champion still. Bayley agrees with me, though, says that Christopher agrees with me. I'm sure Bayley does as well with his comment. Says Bayley deserves her flowers, and Christopher is also going for Bayley as well. Kim, though, really does think Lyra is going to win this one, and also talks about another match we haven't got to yet, but we'll touch on later on, of course, which is Mama. Mammy? Are you trying to say Rhea Ripley? Right, okay, let's get back to the card itself. And say Intercontinental Championship on the line here. Could go either way. Really is one that's kind of hard to predict. Moving on to the next one, though, the NXT Championship. This maybe isn't as simple as I first thought it was as well. I do feel like Jordynne Grace is more likely to win, but because she looked good on NXT, I feel like that might be a little bit of a swerve. So we'll see where that goes. But NXT Championship on the line tonight as well. And again, a lot of people do think, of course, that this is the opportunity to crown Jordynne Grace. She's been in the WWE for not a long time now, but she's popped up, of course, when she was still part of TNA and made a big impression each time. And you would imagine that sooner rather than later, she's going to be having that beautiful title over her shoulder instead of her opponent tonight, of course, Jacy Jayne, the current champion. Moving on, though, we've got a tag team title defense as well. The team of the Judgment Day, represented, of course, by Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez these days. Will we see Liv Morgan show up, even though she's injured? Maybe could play a part still. Charlotte Flair and Asuka are somewhat friends these days, and they're facing off against Sol Ruka and Zarya, and also the Kabuki Warriors are back in WWE together as we see, of course, Asuka and Kairi Sane teaming up once more. Kind of thrown together last minute this, but one I am looking forward to. Who do you think is going to win, though, guys? I've got to be honest. At the moment, I'm probably leaning towards the Judgment Day. Talking about some more matches later on. Again, we'll get to these later on. But Kim says Jade will win. What do you have here as well? So Jacy Jayne wins as well. Judgment Day retains, says Christopher. And Kieran disagrees there, though, and says Bliss and Charlotte wins. The deal is in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. They're saying, what is it? As long as Charlotte Flair doesn't get another belt, I'll be happy. Yeah, if I'm honest, going back to that match itself, the tag team title match, if you're going to take the titles off of them, I'd rather it went to the NXT girls or the Kabuki Warriors. I don't want another kind of can they coexist type storyline between Charlotte and Alexa as champions or anything like that. It's just not really what I'm hoping for. As much as I am a fan of both of them, it's just not the story I want them to tell at the moment, at the expense, in my opinion, of the division and the titles. So I'd rather keep it on the Judgment Day. I mean, I mentioned it the other night, but the shots backstage of all the gold on the table in Judgment Day's kind of clubhouse, yeah, I'm all for it. Enjoy that one. So that's the tag team titles. Let's move on to the next match as well. We've got the Battle Royal. We touched on this quite a bit already when we started the show. And again, we'll touch on this in further detail later on when Lucas joins the panel. And again, hopefully some of our friends from the wrestling media. But the field is starting to kind of pick up now. You can see a lot of familiar faces in there. Of course, some coming from NXT, some on the main roster as kind of mainstays on that division. But some big names in there, just to name a few: Stephanie Vaquer, Nikki Bella, her Secret Hervis. You got Nia Jax in there. You got Maxine Dupree, Natalia, Mia Yim, Zelina Vega, Julia, of course, women's US champion, which again I mentioned before is a real shame she's not defending the title. But that's a stacked field already, let alone what surely will be a match that might give us some surprises as well. Christopher says Roxanne Perez deserves to keep the women's tag team titles. Yeah, I'm always frustrated by someone winning the titles when they didn't, or having the titles when they didn't actually win them. I talked about this a little bit over the weekend, but I don't mind when they do it by defending the titles and they've kind of earned their way in, if that kind of makes sense. But handing over to a different champion always feels weird to me. Happy 26th birthday to Izzy Dame, says Christopher. I didn't know it was Izzy Dame's birthday, but yeah, shout out to Izzy Dame, and shout out to you, Christopher, for letting us know. Why is Chelsea green in it, says Kieran. Come on, Chelsea's great. Great entertainment, mate. But Kieran doesn't think so and says, I'm going to crash out if Chelsea wins. Oh, mate. Is the Battle Royal a Royal Rumble style, says Vincent. Great question, buddy. Usually when I use the term Battle Royal, it won't be. It will just be they're all in it at once. And yeah, over the top rope, and whoever is in it last, fantastic. But I don't think it's going to be basically someone coming out every 60 or 90 seconds or whatever it is these days, because yeah, that would be basically a Royal Rumble in itself. There will be more surprises, says Vincent. I hope that is the case, and yeah, maybe not just in this Battle Royal match, right? Let's move it over to some more matches on the card before throwing it over to my original predictions a little bit as well, just so we can kind of catch up with that one, and I'll kind of come back and you know, reassess some of those if I need to. But Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky, of course, it's a huge match for the title. I got to be honest, Rhea winning the title seems a bit of a stale story these days, but you can't deny that she's such a big star, and she's front and center of the main poster, and of course, surely going to have a big role at SummerSlam. So there's a chance that Io is going to be losing the title here. Then we've got Jade Cargill going off against Naomi in a grudge match, and just announced last night, well, on Friday, I should say, Bianca Belair. No, it was last night, actually, on Saturday's main event when they started brawling, which, by the way, was fantastic by ringside. Then Bianca got added to the mix as well as referee. So will there be shenanigans here? You betcha. Will it be the prediction I've been making for months and months and months? I flipping hope so. And again, I'm going to throw it over to my original predictions in just a bit so you can see exactly what I'm talking about there. And later on, again, we'll be joined by some special guests to hear their thoughts on the card and some of these big stories as well. Moving into the next one, though, maybe going to be the main event because it's a title match, but you've got Tiffy Time versus Trishy Time, former friends, now somewhat enemies. They're going against each other, at least in this match, and we're a little bit catty towards each other to suddenly start building into the match very recently. Now, usually I'd be looking at this going, nah, there's no way Trish is winning, but there's a few kind of swerves they could do on this show, and I think the biggest one could be relating to a briefcase. Again, you'll see my original prediction for that in just a bit, especially because it didn't happen on Saturday night's main event, by the way. A lot of rumors going around that didn't end the way it should have because of Seth Rollins' injury, so we'll see what happens there in that division. But the women's division, my only kind of thinking was like, oh, maybe they won't do two. But now they didn't do one. Maybe it is more likely that it will be Naomi cashing in. But we'll see where we go with that one. Christopher says everybody will be in the ring at the same time. Again, referring to the Battle Royal format. What is the tattoo on Mammy's... What's that, Faye? Fire? What are you saying there? I didn't see it. But what? Anyway, but I don't know what the tattoo is, buddy. Maybe we'll get the graphic up and have a closer look later on. Jade Cargill versus Naomi should open Evolution. I think it depends on what they're going to do, right? If there's going to be a big surprise or whatever, you know, the order of the other matches, essentially. WWE already announced that Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky will main event Evolution. Is that the case? Okay, we'll have a little look at that. Face. I don't know why I didn't see that's what you meant, Kieran. It was simply just one letter missing, and I thought you were trying to say like phi or something. It doesn't even, it's nowhere near the spelling of phi. We're very close to the spelling of face, so I should have got what you meant there, buddy. I don't think it's a tattoo, is it? She usually writes things on, like when she was in Judgment Day, she did the little scales, the JD. She used to write DD for Dirty Dom. She wrote Dom and stuff like that as well. So it's probably something like that. But we'll have a little look at the graphic in a bit more detail very soon. As I say, thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in for this build-up show. If you're new to the channel, what we do is we get us and you guys hyped up in the mood for the PLE. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're going to be talking last minute rumors, and we're also going to break down some of our predictions here in a moment as well. And of course, I want to hear your predictions, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw it over to a clip from our Friday night's big preview stream that we did again on, well, you guessed it, Friday night, where I originally broke down this card and went into way more detail than I have here on the intro to the build-up show. After that, once it's finished, I'll come back and we'll be live again and we'll talk about these predictions in more detail and what I might have changed since, Saturday night's main event and SmackDown has now taken place since then as well. So we'll talk about that. Again, Lucas is going to be joining us later on and hopefully some friends from the wrestling media world. I'm going to be in the background though, guys, so don't be shy. Keep your comments coming. I'll reply in the background, and then when we go back live later on, we'll put some of our favorite comments back up on screen as well, and maybe we'll go into further detail on some of those topics. Speaking of which, before I do jump out of here and show you the preview, you think it's a B and B. What would B and B for? Unless it is D and D and it's an old render. Tonight should over-deliver, says you know the deal. WWE shows with a lackluster build tend to be excellent. I 100% get what you're coming for with that one, mate. And with that one, I should say. And I tend to agree as well. So hopefully we're going to have a big old show. Now, as I say, I'm going to throw it over to my original predictions here. And once these clips are over, I'll be back live once again. And it won't just be me for that bit as well. And keep your comments coming. As I say, I'm going to be in the background replying to them anyway. So I'll see you in a little bit just after Friday night's big preview. Time to talk about WWE Evolution. Now, this is a show that I think most people are the most upset about being clashing with such a kind of heavy weekend, because Evolution, man, like Evolution 1 was so monumental. I said it earlier on in the stream. I rewatched it this week, and it was so cool seeing where these people are now. How much of a great show that was in itself, but where these people are now and where they were in that show. Bianca Belair was in the crowd, not really involved. Rhea Ripley as well looked annoyed because she wasn't in the Mae Young Classic final, which I'm sure was just some character work from her. Toni Storm won that. She's now, of course, big match on the same weekend for the for the AEW World title against Mercedes Moné, of course, who was Sasha Banks featured on this as well. Charlotte and Becky had their last women's standing match. Nikki Bella, of course, is going to be appearing at Evolution, was facing off against Ronda Rousey, who I don't see showing up this time, but was a big story at the time. Just so much. Io Sky, she was known back then, Io Shirai, of course, was featured heavily in this as well. She is now women's world champion on Raw. Of course, it's going to have a match on this show as well. So the first one just like laid down the groundwork for the next few years, and it was really of its time. But still, I watched it back, and it was such a great show. And you look at some of those people and you go, yeah, they've had a great career since, but like, what are they doing at the moment? As far as the build to this show, I think the card is great. It started to really come together in the past few days, but that's a bit late. There is talk about they have not sold tickets in the upper tier, and then I saw talk about them moving people back because they moved people down into the lower tier. They upgraded people. I saw people even then having their upgrade taken away, so maybe that's a good sign for the show because it's selling more tickets. Bad sign for them because they got their hopes up. They were moving somewhere closer. I do think it's going to be a great show, but I think on the same night, I think Beyonce's playing in the same town, or the same state at least. Or I think there's another big match, a big show going on as well. Of course, it is on the same weekend where people are going to have a lot of wrestling fatigue, having watched maybe Friday Night SmackDown, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, NXT Great American Bash, Saturday night's main event. What else is there? AEW All In Texas, of course. We've been previewing most of these shows as well. Yeah, it's just like, this is the one where it's like, yeah, but this is a special show. It shouldn't be just an afterthought and kind of trying to score points against another company. Like, I think it's out of WWE's cards that they're putting on this weekend, I think it's the best one and the show I'm most looking forward to. Because again, that comes from the first one. And that these women, we talked about throughout these kind of predictions, right? People trying to steal headlines, trying to bring kind of eyes their way. The women are really going to want to do that just because of the situation around the show itself and the first one and what the story was there. Yeah, the wrestling scene is different since then as far as women goes. It's been incredible, but it's still going to want to make a statement. And it's still going to make a statement on a weekend where I feel like they probably feel like they've been under kind of prepared. You know, it's not a show that's had a good build. But as I say, the card is looking good. So we will break it down in just a moment. Let's get to some of these comments before we do. Christopher Leclerc says on SmackDown, Kairi Sane versus Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss, and Sol Ruka. So a lot of women being used there as well. And as Casper says, it's nice to see all the women PLE. Really looking forward to the matches on this one. So am I, Casper. And as I say, without further ado, let's break it down. Let's talk about WWE Evolution 2025. The first match we're going to talk about is the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this is a great example again of how Evolution 1 was quite different to Evolution 2 in the sense that so much has changed. We've got, and I wasn't getting emotional there, by the way, guys. Saying that, I ain't afraid to admit, Evolution 1, and a lot of things around Evolution 1, when there was a lot of first-time moments for the women, I used to get very teary about these women's matches at moments. And hey, I might do it again. I saw the cold open, by the way. If you haven't seen it already, I think it's about 3 minutes long. WWE put it up on their YouTube page. And already I was like, man, I love this. I love women's wrestling. So they're making it up to us. I'm in a little bit, there. But a bit late in some ways. But looking forward to the show, as I say. Look, like I say, things have changed. Just looking at this graphic again, comparing it to Evolution 1, you've got Bayley, who was a very different character back then, but big part of WWE. You've got Becky Lynch, big part of character WWE. She's becoming the man at the time. And then you've got Lyra Valkyria, brand new on the scene. And this whole storyline has been about pushing her and kind of focusing on her as the kind of future, right? Now, she's been Intercontinental Champion. Again, something that's completely different this time around. We have a new IC belt. We have the US title, which, by the way, I'm really disappointed isn't being defended on this show. Again, this is being recorded before SmackDown, so who knows? Maybe they add a Julia title defense on the card as well, but it's already a stacked card, way more than WWE usually do these days. But yeah, again, things have changed essentially. And this is a great example of that, as I say, not just with a title, not just with what are two legends now in the game, but also Lyra Valkyria, someone that I think is still finding her feet in some ways, still kind of hit and miss on some things, but improving more and more, had a good IC title run herself and a decent feud and really kind of starting to shine in this storyline now that there are 3 of them involved and everybody's got their own little story to tell. Now, who's going to win it? I mean, I think the answer I would have come up with before was to give it back to Lyra, because I think Lyra, lost it, but it was to make, in my opinion, the IC title looks strong and kind of put that on Becky's CV is good for her. But now I'm thinking it'd be good for Bayley. Like, Bayley lost out on WrestleMania. It'd be a good thing for her CV, right? Someone put up a video of her back in the NXT days. Saw it earlier on. Bayley retweeted it and said about Evolution, how it means so much to her, essentially. So maybe we're getting a big moment here for Bayley. Maybe this is the payback for kind of taking one for the team essentially at WrestleMania and being, involved with that storyline where she was taken out by, who was it? Well, it was Becky Lynch. She got involved and won tag titles with Lyra and they lost it. She turned on her, got a title of it. It's been a good story they've told. Bayley's back in it. I really hope that Bayley benefits from this story essentially. So I'm hoping Bayley wins it. But if this was a few months back before Bayley came back into the picture, I would have said it was all about Lyra getting back the gold. Because, yeah, you've made the star now and you've made the title. Put them back together. But I don't want to see that. I want Bayley to win. Prediction-wise, though, I'm going to go... I might even just go with Becky to keep it because we're going to SummerSlam. Becky's going to feature heavily there, right? Will she be challenging to get a title back? Will we see the same match again? Maybe. And if so, would they have took the title? And if so, that means there wouldn't be a title change there, surely. Unless it was a nice little reward for Bayley to have for, just over a month or so. And then Lyra gets it back on that big stage. That's kind of the best story to tell, right? Yeah, it's a bit of hot potato with the title in some ways, but maybe that's the best story to tell. So, you know what? I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to say Bayley's going to win it. And it's because they're going to get a rematch, triple threat, SummerSlam, and Lyra's going to win there. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going too much with the old ticker. Christopher Leclerc says, I'm torn on Bayley or Becky winning, so no chance for Lyra in Christopher's prediction. Casper says, I'm really looking forward to this one. Becky Lynch versus Lyra versus Bayley. Becky has to retain, I'm a massive fan of Becky Lynch. Of course you are, Casper. How can I forget? When Becky wasn't spoken about because she wasn't around, Casper made sure to bring her up on every single stream. So I appreciate that, mate. I know you're a big fan of Becky, as am I. I think she's been used perfectly since she's come back, by the way. Not shoved down our throats too much in the main title picture, but instead kind of making use of a kind of a legacy essentially, and rubbing off on not only an up-and-coming wrestler from her own kind of hometown, but also on a title that needs a bit of a shine as well. Julia is in the women's battle royal. We'll be getting to that later on, but good point actually. I don't know why they don't just do a US title match. I'm leaning towards Bayley winning, says Christopher Leclerc, in this triple threat match, and also says Bayley versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam, completely taking Lyra out of the mix there. But again, look, when you talk about marquee matches, that makes sense. I can kind of see that. It's just, what does it mean for Lyra? What was it all for, really? Casper says, but Raw is much more better for me and enjoyable now. Becky is back in WWE. I never wanted to retire. I love her. Someday she's going to have to, Casper, but I'm with you, mate. Big fan of Becky, and always great to see her around, especially now that she's being used quite well, I think. Not shoved down people's throat in the wrong storylines, but again, used in the best kind of way. What do you guys think of the whole kind of Becky Lynch return, Bayley in this match, Lyra? Who's going to win it? Again, if you haven't already, drop your comments. Let us know down below. And would love to hear your thoughts. I've also had the privilege of interviewing Bayley again on this very channel. It was when she was in Damage Control. So if you haven't already, check that out. That was a fun one, if I do say so myself. And we've got plenty more where that came from as well. Also had great interviews with the likes, as I said earlier on, of Drew McIntyre. Great conversations in the past with Finn Balor. And also had good conversations, as I mentioned earlier on, with Bobby Lashley. And even, sadly, someone who's not going to be featured on this show, not in a wrestling capacity at least, but Liv Morgan, who I think has been on an incredible run lately, but sadly isn't featured here. Now, let's get back to the card itself. And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe, check out more of our content. We will have a build-up show live for Evolution on Sunday night, where we have friends from the wrestling media world join us, more members of the Rebellious Noise crew, and break down the card and the last-minute rumors in more detail as well. This time around, though, great to have you joining me. This, of course, will be replayed on the early part of that, but then we'll be going live, breaking it down in more detail, as I say. But for now, let's get back into the Evolution card, and let's talk about the next match to predict. And we touched on it a little bit earlier on when we were talking about NXT's Great American Bash, and as much as I'm looking forward to this one, I kind of gave that a Great American Bashing, or a Great British Bash from me at least, because I just feel like it feels like a go-home match, the kind of thing you see on an episode of normal NXT to get you to the PLE, and I don't think that's good for an NXT PLE. Now, it depends what we see. By the time you watch this, you might be watching this on the early part of the build-up show on Sunday night's stream. So by then, we might know if Blake Monroe turned or anything like that. But as I call it at the moment, we don't actually know if that's going to happen. But as we talked about on that stream, if she hasn't at that point, she might turn here and cost Jordynne Grace in this match. I think Blake Monroe's turning heel sometime, but let's stay away from her just for a little bit because it is kind of hard to predict. We've got JC Jane, of course, the champion, going up against Jordynne Grace. Now, if there hasn't been a turn at this point, I do fear for Jordynne, but if there has, then it's out of the way. I think Jordynne's going to win. I think Jordynne makes sense as the champion. You could argue it's soon. You could argue as well that it's a long time coming. This is the thing about the TNA connection, right? She was in TNA when she first showed up, as was Joe Hendry, but he still is. The difference is she's now part of the WWE roster, as far as kind of clearly, at least. We don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes with TNA that, maybe means they all kind of technically are, but it's presented to us that she's a member of the NXT roster and not TNA, right? So since then, it's about time to give her that gold, I feel. So, for me, I think she I'm going to go Jordynne Grace. I'm going to go Jordynne Grace on this one. I think she will actually become NXT Women's Champion, which is great, by the way. I think she'll be fast-tracked to the main roster in no time, but a little pit stop as NXT Champion will do them all no harm either. Christopher Leclerc also said, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Bayley, when they do retire, they'll be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Yep, I think a fourth name you can add to that list for sure is Mercedes Moné, as she's going by now. Of course, we've touched on her this weekend quite a bit with All In, but you've got to remember her time in WWE. Sasha Banks was such an incredible run as well. I think the four of them deserve to go in, and I think they definitely will. Casper says, I'm a big fan of Lyra too. Great storytelling in this one. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been a good... It's kind of perfect in some ways, for what you want to get out of those things, making the title look good, making Lyra look good, and not making Becky get in the way too much, and hopefully giving Bayley something out of it soon. Bringing it back to the match we just spoke about, though, JCJ retains, says Christopher Leclerc, because I have Jordan Grace winning at the Great American Bash. And then Casper also says Jordan Grace needs to win the title. For me, Blake Monroe screws Jordan Grace, and JCJ wins, though. So yeah, JCJ coming out as champion, even though Casper thinks that Jordan needs to win the title at some point soon. Maybe she goes into a storyline with Blake Monroe and then goes back to this title in the future. Let's bring it back to the Evolution card as a whole, though. The next match to talk about is this one here. Of course, the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match. You can see there on your screen, the graphic shows us it is the Judgment Day of Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, the champions, of course, defending against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, the kind of interesting team there. Sol Ruka and Zarya, and the Kabuki Warriors back together once again, Asuka and Kairi Sane. I'm really looking forward to this match, guys. I think it's a bit weird that they've kind of, in some ways, you could argue, shoehorned Charlotte and Alexa into this. I think they did the same thing at Evolution 1. I mentioned earlier on the differences between where we are in the wrestling world and where we were at the time. You look back at Evolution 1, I don't think Sasha being in the match she was in made the most sense, or Bayley, because they were both but it's just the way the stories had unfolded at the time. I think if you look back on it and you said, Sasha main evented, you'd be like, yeah, that would make sense. She was one of the biggest stars in WWE at the time, but she weren't in that kind of position. She was in I think it was a 6-woman tag. I think this is an example of that, where Charlotte was in a big position last time around. Alexa was also, I don't know if she was injured, but she was acting like as a manager. But anyway, point is, this time around, Alexa is actually wrestling, but Charlotte's in, I don't want to say a lesser position. I'm all right, lesser position. It's a title match, big match, enjoyable, still on the card. But last time it was a one-on-one versus Becky Lynch in the last women's standing match. That was historic, and not saying this won't be fun, won't be good, but it's a different position. But she's way further on in her career now. And the argument a lot of people make about Charlotte is the same one people made about Becky Lynch in the past, is that she shoved down her throat, she wins too many things. Still a big fan of Charlotte, even though that both things can be true at the same time. The good thing now is they have stepped the foot off the gas to Charlotte, and she is doing other things. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm glad she's doing this. There's a little bit of storyline history between her and Alexa anyway. Strange I think most people would have expected Alexa to go straight into this Wyatt Six storyline. She hasn't really. So maybe that will come back. Hopefully it will. I think it should. But at the moment, she's in a storyline with Charlotte. Now, is it because they're going to become tag team champions? Or is it just simply to get them on the card? I'm starting to think it's the latter. At first, I thought it was for that reason. But then, when I look back at that graphic, there's only one team, in my opinion, that makes sense to keep those titles. And I've kind of given it away there. Keep those titles. It's the Judgment Day. I'm not really a fan of someone getting injured and a new person taking their place. People that listen to me on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, the Rebellious Noise main channel, and back in the day on Talking Beans when we covered wrestling as well for that podcast, you might know I don't like the Freebird rule. I didn't like the New Day doing that. And this isn't the same. It's kind of similar. I've liked it in the past where they've kind of been like, okay, you have to at least win a match. You have to successfully defend the titles, and you're now the champ. I think they did it this time with this as well. And the last time, was it Liv and Raquel? There was some sort of scenario where recently they had a similar one as well, where someone got injured and it was the Naomi and Jade switch over, essentially. We'll get to them later. So yeah, that's not as bad, but still, I'm not the biggest fan of it. But got to make the best of a bad situation. Liv is injured. Real shame. Again, it's a shame she's not on the card. Maybe she will feature. I saw a tweet earlier on where she was wishing them good luck, which is quite interesting. So I think that's what she was doing. Something along those lines, anyway. So will she appear? I don't know. I mean, they used the picture, of course. Everyone was like, she's not dead. Raquel was annoyed by that. I think this is basically where Roxanne wins her over, because I think that's the biggest story to tell, that eventually Liv will come back and Liv will kind of have been replaced, and Roxanne is on her side, just like what happened to Rhea Ripley is going to happen to Liv Morgan. And I think it's going to be a great story to tell. I'm really looking forward to it. It's not the one they would have told, obviously. It looked like Liv was going to do something with Nikki Bella, maybe be in a tag team match with Brie Bella, and it was I don't know, maybe it was a one-on-one. We couldn't quite tell, right, because she got injured, which again was a real shame. I do think she Liv's one of the best performers in WWE, regardless of women's roster or men's roster. So yeah, a real shame, bad timing for it. But I'm looking forward to her coming back, essentially. And I do think the best story to tell is the Judgment Day keeping hold of their titles. Even seeing them on, again, I mentioned it throughout the stream, really, when you get stable, sometimes it just makes sense to see them capture pretty much all the gold. And seeing the Judgment Day with all the gold on their table on Monday Night Raw, I think was a really, really cool visual as well. Let's get to some more of these comments here, guys. Christopher says, Sol Ruka has a busy weekend. You're right. She really does. Busy weekend indeed. I don't think she's going to be coming out on top here, but I do think it's going to be a good showing for her. It's a good opportunity for a lot of these NXT girls to stand out. Christopher Leclerc says Judgment Day retains as well. Casper says would love to see Zaruka win the tag team titles. Zarya needs a title belt, in my opinion. Roxanne Perez has 20 losses in 2025, says Christopher Leclerc. That's incredible. I hope she's not going to win this, lose this one. And Casper says, oh no, I didn't realize for Raquel and Roxanne Perez the title belts, but would love Zaruka win. But Judgment Day to win would be a fun match as well. Yeah, like I say, I think Judgment Day makes the most sense. Let's move into the next match on the card. Again, really looking forward to the tag team match. And I've got to say as well, by the way, not only seeing the NXT girls in this, it's great to see the Kabuki Warriors back together. A bit last minute, don't get me wrong, but still good way to get them on the card. Right, then we have the Battle Royal. It was talked about earlier on in the comments. Battle Royals are kind of hard to predict because it's difficult to know who's even in it, let alone who's going to win it. So let's go more with that. Who do we think is going to win it? I think there's going to be some in it. I've kind of slipped up on it. Who do you think is going to be in it? I think there's going to be surprises. I think we'll have some legends here. Maybe we'll see some of the ones we saw at the first one. Maybe we'll get Lita, Molly Holly. I mean, there was a Battle Royal there, which Molly Holly herself was in. Alundra Blaze was in. Kelly was in. Maybe we could see Eve Torres. Ivory was in it. Look, we're 7 years away from that. So some of those kind of older names, maybe less likely. I did notice, though, on the Cold Open, they heavily featured Jazz. I say heavily featured, they at least featured her. Love that. Really hope she shows up. I think that's someone that really, really deserves to get her flowers in WWE once more. So I'd love to see Jazz showing up at Evolution. The other big name here is, now it could be anywhere on the card, but this would be a good one, especially if it's just a one and done, is AJ Lee. Now, AJ Lee has been talked about ever since CM Punk come back, and I do think we will see AJ Lee again, but I do think it's been maybe significant as to when we see and when we haven't seen AJ. She didn't show up at the Royal Rumble, and I think that might be because that might have indicated she was back, and I don't know if she would be back. But by the other token, maybe you could say a Royal Rumble is a perfect place to hop in and hop back out. We see it time and time again with legends, right? And she is kind of a legend of the women's industry. So maybe this is the opposite of that. She comes back now right before SummerSlam and gets into a storyline. What do you think? Are we going to get a return of AJ Lee? As I say, we are previewing it on Friday night's big preview, but when we get to the build-up show on Sunday night, I'm going to dive into that further, hopefully with more members of the team and members of the wrestling media world. But for now, I want to know your comments on it, so let me know down below. Christopher has Stephanie Vaquer winning. I think that's a good shout. Very, very good shout, mate. I think that's probably quite likely. 14 women have been announced for the Women's Battle Royal at Evolution. Is that the case? Let me see if I can find them then. Women's Battle Royal. Let's at least go with them, and then we can talk about surprises in a little bit more detail. Entrance. Let's have a quick Google. Right, this is... don't you just hate going on a website and having to say no to cookies all the time? Right. Come on. Brilliant. That's a terrible website. I'm not going to make them look bad, but let's check this website, see if we can get it here. Lovely bit of content for you guys here. Sorry about that. Right. Apparently, Stephanie Vaquer. Okay. Favorite so far. I've only said one name, but still my favorite. Ivy now. No, good. Oh, Nikki Bella. This is where she's going to be used. Maybe, because maybe she was supposed to win against Liv, or at least go into a big storyline after that, stick around for SummerSlam. So maybe her winning here kind of leads to something else as well. What else is going to happen? So is this for anything, by the way? Is this like to become number one contender or anything like that? Yes, championship match at Clash in Paris. Okay, so get some of these comments here and I'll go through some more as well. I'm going for Stephanie Valkyria to win this one now that she's returned, says Casper. Yeah, showed up in NXT, of course, a few days ago as well, but could throw up a few surprises this Women's Battle Royal, says Casper, with an AJ Lee return, which would be nice. I could completely agree with everybody. I'd love to see AJ Lee back again, whether it's a one and done or she's back for good. It'd be, or for a few months at least, it'd be good. Right. Natalia, Maxine Dupree, Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker, okay, getting some of the names from NXT here, Lola Vice, Legend, Izzy Dame, Tatum Paxley, Zelina Vega, Julia, as was mentioned in the comments earlier on, against Serge, she's not defending her US gold, and Candice LeRae. Now, out of the ones that are announced, I think Stephanie's the most likely. Next up, Nikki Bella, and then next up after that, I'd say maybe for kind of, you know, a pat on the back sake is Natalia. Now she's been performing outside of WWE completely different as Natty Neidhart again, and people are loving it. So it'd be great if she kind of got flowers again in WWE as well. But if not from that group there, I think Stephanie makes the most sense. And even returnees don't usually win because there's usually several and they can't all, right? But if we're going to get a return, I think AJ Lee is the top of the list of who I want to see. Will we see it? Yeah, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go, because I feel like they held back at the Rumble for a reason. Like that, it just felt so obvious they were going to bring her back. Like that they will. That I just think it's a timing thing. And I think she deserves to be at Evolution. She wasn't at the first one. So it'd be nice. It would be really nice. For a show that they've not booked that well and kind of left to strand in some ways because... it's, not sold the most tickets and whatever else. Like, it could be a really newsworthy show, and I really hope it is the case. And there's a lot of people wishing they were in the building for it. Right. Casper says Stephanie Valkyria most likely because they need to keep her strong. It's a good point, actually. Whether or not you do get returns for people like AJ Lee, I think Stephanie Valkyria winning does probably make the most sense here as well. But yeah, what a fun match. Even just to predict, it's kind of got me excited just to kind of even think about. So I really do hope the execution of it is as, even half as good as what we talk about. Now, of course, the next match to talk about is one that might kind of be impacted by the last, really. It's a women's title match, of course, between Rhea Ripley going up against her kind of friend in Io Sky. Again, I mentioned earlier on how Io Shirai at the time featured heavily in the first Evolution. Now, lovely to see her and still in the company, still doing really well. She went away for a bit, actually. But yeah, she's been on top of things since she come back. An interesting title run, of course. It was a storyline that was kind of basically, hey, this is a storyline where we're basically saying it's not about Io and she's going to win in the end. It's going to be okay. But it feels like ever since then, that's kind of what was true anyway. They've forgotten about her again. Is this all about Rhea Ripley winning it back? Now, Rhea is one of those at risk, just like those in the kind of class above her, ahead of her, I should say. Those legends of the game in Becky and Charlotte who, risk of being shoved down your throat too much. Rhea, Bianca are kind of getting in that position. Well, I've been in that position really over the past few years as well. So they've got to be careful with it. As much as I love both of them as performance, I think they do have to be careful. I've got to say I love them, by the way, because I've managed to interview both of them on this very channel. What a way to have a cheap plug, eh? If you haven't already, check it out on this very channel. Myself and Bianca Belair had a great chat a while back, and I also had the great opportunity to have a fantastic conversation with Rhea Bloody Ripley as well. So again, if you haven't already, subscribe and find more content like that on this channel. But we are here for the big preview here on this amazing Friday night as we break down 4 incredible shows on this busy weekend of pro wrestling. But we are capping it off now, getting towards the end as we start getting to the main events of Evolution. As I say, Rhea Ripley going up against Io Sky, as she's known these days. Can Io keep the title? I think she should, to keep her looking strong, but I think their argument might be, well, we made her win at WrestleMania when we could have given it to Rhea then, or Bianca, and they didn't. So it kind of... Look, if Stephanie wins the Battle Royal, I could see Rhea winning this and that they face each other at Clash, because I don't see them going after the other title because, of course, Queen of the Ring winner is meant to be going after that title, of course, in Jade Cargill. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. So I think because they're going to be going in that direction, it might make more sense for Rhea to win I think they might be going in that direction, but I could be wrong. EO could win, or they could do EO versus Stephanie. It was them that had that match, right, on the Raw after Mania. Or was it them two? Yeah, Sky versus Stephanie. Let's have it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Raw after Mania. Yeah, fantastic match. So maybe the rematch of that. You know, that's SummerSlam worthy. It was flipping great on Raw. So yeah, maybe it could be coming back at us. Christopher says Women's Battle Royal is for title shots clash in Paris. Yeah, as we say. Thanks for getting it in. I'm sure you sent that in just as I was getting a bit confused about it. Anyway, Rhea Ripley is 0-4 against Io Sky. Oh, she's gonna win them. she can't get to 5. Casper says I'd love Rhea to win the title back now, but I love both of them and their work. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a big fan of both of them. It probably will be a Rhea Ripley. The only thing that makes me hesitant is because I've got some crazy stuff going on in the main event. A little spoiler for you there, but not the main event because we don't know what's going to main event, but in the other title picture is what I should say. Right. Let's start moving towards that because the next match, I believe, is one that's also going to play into that, and I'll get to that very soon. But let's just leave it at this for now. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Now, this match here is interesting. I mean, they've had this feud going on for a while now. Of course, Naomi turned on Jade Cargill. She attacked her. And I've been saying all along that I think Bianca Belair is in on it too. I thought it might get revealed at WrestleMania. I thought it might get revealed in time for WrestleMania to do a triple threat or Bianca versus Jade. Didn't happen. I feel like maybe Bianca could say, you know, I got Naomi to do it for me, but Naomi gets annoyed because she felt like she wasn't backed up or whatever. There's so many stories you could tell here, but I think Bianca's got to turn heel, and I think she will turn heel. And where is Bianca? Where is Bianca? So, does Bianca return at Evolution? As I say, Evolution 1, she was just in the crowd, waving. Evolution 2, she's a big star come this point, and she is nowhere to be seen. Except all over that cold open video I mentioned earlier on. Now, sometimes that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes, if you want a secret, you keep it away. Going back to the AJ Lee prediction, she was heavily featured in that as well. I say heavily, at least in it. Bianca was heavily featured in it. But that could be just to say this is where the women's division is. They showed the history of the division. And again, it could be the same for the other people that could potentially be surprises as well, or just be shown because, hey, they're part of the history. So, I want to go with something big. I've been saying it all along. Bianca Belair is going to turn heel, and I think she could come back here and do that by beating up Jade. And Naomi wins. But then it turns into a triple threat. Or just goes Jade and Bianca. I don't know, but I just feel like Bianca could be coming back here, or she does it at SummerSlam. But for me, if it weren't WrestleMania, it's a marquee match at SummerSlam. And it could be a triple threat between the three of them, or it could be between Jade and Bianca. That's arguably not the bigger match, but like usually the one-on-one makes more sense for heated rivalry. But this is a story with layers, so 3 of them make sense as well. There is a lot they could do here. Christopher Leclerc says Jade Cargill wins in this one, and also says Bianca Belair is injured, so she won't be back before SummerSlam. But is that legit? I mean, we still don't really know about how legit or how bad, if it was legit, Jade's one was. So I don't know. Let's have a look. What are people saying at the moment? She ended the match at WrestleMania. I don't know. I mean, there was a broken finger. Was there much beyond that? I don't know. I just feel like they've kept her away to kind of keep things fresh. And I think I think she's going to do it. Maybe if she's injured, it ain't happening yet, but I think it's going to happen at some point. Bianca to turn heel in this one. Yeah, look, I think it could. And costing Jade. Yeah, look, I think it could happen, man. If none of that happens, Jade wins. Because Jade's got to look strong going into whatever title match she's going to have coming up. And at the moment, That's either going to be against Tiffany Stratton or Trish Stratus. Speaking of which, we're going to get to that in a minute. And I'm going to be coming back to this match for a good reason. Let's move on to potentially the main event, depending on what else is going on with the card. But Trish Stratus going up against Tiffany Stratton. Now, of course, these two teamed up a few months back in Trish's home country. And at the time, I remember thinking, well, they're going to face off against each other, right? Tiffany still acts like a heel, but she's a face. She treated Trish well by giving her the match, but also kind of dissed her and downplayed it, the match itself. And again, it wasn't the greatest booking. I saw a quote earlier that Trish was basically admitting, yeah, it would have been nice to have a bit more time. It weren't the greatest booking as far as getting to where we are, but it could be an interesting story to tell here. Now, if I'm just focusing on this match here, right, and I'm thinking about the future, which looks to be Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton for the title, which a lot of people would say makes sense because, SummerSlam is a marquee match, 2 stars of today going into the future. Yeah, I get that. And giving it to Trish Stratus, as nice as it would be for Trish, this is about the future, right? We can't be kind of just crowning people. It's one thing for them to get on the card and be represented the first time around because they never had that opportunity. But you don't want to be seen as taking a spot away. And if you're winning a title, that's kind of a risky move for a legend. But is there another story to tell here? Do we get a complete swerve? Do we get Trish Stratus winning the title, boosts her numbers, a shock, a big story in itself, only for Naomi to cash in and become champion, which means Jade Cargill versus Naomi for the title at SummerSlam. Moving completely away from Tiffany, swerving us with Trish, and if Bianca's ready, bringing her back into the fold purely on blood feud grounds. And that way we do get the triple threat. It is a marquee match at SummerSlam, and it's for the title. You could argue it doesn't need the title, but why does Naomi have the briefcase? Maybe that's what it is. Now, if you look at this match on Evolution, we've already had this feud going for a while, just between the two of them. They've dipped him in and out of it. Some might say, if it's just simply the one-on-one, then Jade versus Naomi is not the match that maybe people expected or wanted to see for the title when you could have had Tiffany and told a different story. But I don't know, man. I got a feeling that they might be telling the story that they've been telling all along and just giving it extra layers. What do you think? And if that's not the case, when does she cash in? I mean, there's a chance she cashes in on Tiffany and we get the same scenario, but I just think the Trish one would be a massive swerve as well. It's very similar to what I was saying about what might happen at Saturday night's main event. Now, if you're watching this on the replay of this on the Evolution build-up show before we go live, then you'll know exactly what happened at Saturday night's main event. It might be too similar. It might be completely different because, there wasn't shenanigans in the Goldberg match. But I just felt this was interesting. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think of my kind of fantasy booking there? Am I getting too tied up on my kind of long-term dream that I've had that Bianca's turned in heel and it was all her fault? And I'm kind of looking through that too much. Christopher says Tiffany Stratton retains. Enough said. Simple for Christopher. And it could just simply be that. It could have nothing to do with a cash in or anything like that. If we just book this match on its own, I agree. But if there's more of a story to tell, if it's not going to be Jay versus Tiffany because we've got the Money in the Bank briefcase, then, or maybe she just cashes in at SummerSlam. Jade wins and she cashes. I mean, that would be hot potatoing, or maybe she cashes in to make it a triple threat. Who knows? Casper says, really looking forward to Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. Really, really loving Tiffany right now. Tiffany time should be a fun match. Christopher says, no way Tiffany Stratton loses. Really not looking like a loss for Tiffany, says Christopher. Casper says, loving Tiffany's work in WWE. Tiffany time. What time is it? It is Tiffany time. Look, it might continue to be Tiffany time. I think it is a very likely thing. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't bet my house on what I've just predicted. But I want to see it. So that's what I'm going with. Because as fun as I've, as fun as Tiffany's been in her title reign, I don't think has been like it's. I think I said this a while ago as well. Like it feels like, oh, when you're a world champion, you're made. Like that. What do you mean, like uh, getting the rub by winning it again, or you know, uh, a certain wrestler beating a legend or whatever else? But I think it's kind of true. Sometimes you win the title and you're kind of like in the moment, and you're still also seen as like the future, even though you've got the title. And I think there's been a few occasions where that's happened, and some of them have worked out and gone on to bigger and better things, or bigger, the same thing again and again. Let's say CM Punk, for example, where his WWE title run in 2011 was way more kind of the crowning moment compared to his World Heavyweight Championship title runs that he'd had previously, although they were good, and that was the stepping stone. Then you look at someone like Jack Swagger, who maybe was on the cards for having that as well. When he first won the world title, it felt like, oh, but you're still, at that time, seemed like the future, not the current thing, even though you're the world champion. So I feel like that's kind of the case with Tiffany Stratton at the moment. And also with Obafemi. I mentioned that on the NXT conversation as well. Right. Anyway, if I had to really, really kind of knuckle down and say, look, what would I more likely bet something on? I mean, if I look at the match itself, Tiffany, because I don't think Trish would be going on a run as champion. Maybe one of the mid card titles, yeah, but not the world titles. But at the same time, I just got a sneaky suspicion there's another story to tell here. But seeing as I don't want to kind of disappoint myself, maybe I'll just downplay it and say, all right, Tiffany Stratton's going to win. And that way I won't be too excited. But I'm going to be watching Evolution, expecting it still, and hoping for. And I am still hoping. While the replay was on, and appreciate all your comments as well. Some fantastic comments. We're going to get through those in more detail very soon. Of course, I was in the background typing away, replying to some of you anyway, but I will bring up some of my favorite comments in just a little bit, and hopefully we'll be joined by some special guests soon as well to break down the card in even further detail. Now, not a lot of my predictions would change, but Saturday night's main event did change a little bit as far as, we didn't see a cash in last night where I felt like we might. And my big fear was, oh, we won't see two, maybe. I still think it's not 100% likely Naomi will do it, but I'm still hopeful it will. And if the original plan, I mean, yeah, it didn't happen yesterday, but the original plan would have still been in place, right? So if Seth was going to do it, it's all over the place, really. But I'm very excited. Hyped up and in the mood for the PLE. We get us hyped up and in the mood with the PLE by doing these build-up shows. So thank you so much for tuning in. You are watching the Evolution build-up show. Last night we did one for Saturday night's main event. We also did it for Great American Bash and AEW All In. And again, you've been watching some clips from Friday night's big preview. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. You'll find more content like that going forward, as well as interviews with some of your favorite WWE superstars. I've been privileged enough to chat to people like Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, just trying to name women to keep up with the theme. But still, check those out on this channel. And thanks for tuning in tonight. Let's keep the comments coming. Lilo's in the house. Says hi. Hope you're doing well, Lilo. Thanks for choosing to kind of get hyped up and in the mood for this PLE with us. I appreciate you, buddy. And again, we'll get to some of these comments that we saw going on while the replay was on throughout the stream in just a little bit. Talking about streams, though, the countdown stream from WWE has just begun. So treat this as your little watch-along companion for that. I'm watching it as well at the moment. As expected, it's just a panel. But the arena, you can see it in the background, looks decent from what I can see so far. We'll see if we get any pre-show matches. I think this is a place where they could do it because of the women's roster. Giving more people an opportunity to be on this show, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm really not. But look, the show is just under 2 hours away, but we are here alongside the countdown to build up towards Evolution. So keep your comments coming, guys. And again, I'm going to get to some of our favorites that we saw throughout the stream again while I was in the background here as well. And I'm also going to bring in Lucas very, very soon to the show. So keep your comments coming, guys. And you're tuning in to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel for the build up of Evolution. Let me know what you think is going to happen tonight, guys. Ultimately, this is an exciting event, and it's always good to kind of get your comments as well. What are your thoughts on surprises? What are your thoughts on kind of title matches and things like that? Really, really want to know what you think is going to happen here tonight. Right. Now, let's throw over to Lucas from the channel. How you doing, mate?
Hello there, Scott. Hello there, guys. Joining us for this evening. It seems like all these days are merging into one now. It's Sunday evening.
I don't know where we are, mate, but a great weekend of wrestling so far, it has to be said. A lot for the women to kind of live up to, but I've got full confidence that they will.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this show is happening on an isolated evening, which feels weird after last night. Obviously, last night we dealt with a lot of kind of overrun and kind of going back and forth between 2 and even 3 events at one point almost.
Yeah.
But today, obviously, the women are getting their own kind of stage to perform and do what they do best. And I must say, like, obviously, I've just turned on, by the way, in the background. I have got the pre-show or countdown. What do they call these things now?
Countdown these days. Yeah, it's no longer a kick-off. It is a countdown.
For Evolution and the video package. So obviously, a lot of the problems with this event, right? And we're going to have a lot of time now to digest. Obviously, we will, I guess, discuss something from last night, some kind of bits and pieces that we've kind of got from last night. But a lot of the feedback on tonight, though, has been on the build or lack of build of a lot of these matches. And recently, the other day, WWE uploaded on the WWE Vault channel, which actually made me feel ancient. They uploaded the original Evolution event from 2018.
Yeah.
I actually rewatched it. And
I rewatched it recently as well.
I thought it was a really good event.
It was very good.
The feuds going into it were actually really strong.
Yeah.
You had Charlotte and Becky Lynch. You had Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella. You had all the individual women in the Battle Royals, or the main ones, got a chance to have a spotlight. It's obviously followed early in the year being the first ever Women's Royal Rumble as well. So it was like only the second time of seeing these people kind of come back and getting those nostalgia pops that were well deserved. But it was actually a really good event. Like,
very good.
Tag matches. You had obviously stuff from NXT. It's still bonkers to think that Rhea Ripley defended the NXT UK Championship and is now obviously going to compete for the main roster Women's World Championship.
Yeah.
EO was the main event, but I believe it was the main.
Yeah, EO was in the Mae Young Classic against Toni Storm.
Toni Storm,
and again, we'll touch on and kind of. I love that you brought it out because I was basically saying the same sort of stuff on Friday, where a lot of these women have kind of, what they've come from and what they're doing these days. It really, when you look back at Evolution, it does feel like a marker. And I'm hoping tonight will feel the same way. As you say, the build hasn't been great in some ways, but a decent card to talk about anyway. Going to throw over to some of these comments before we do go back to predictions in a bit more detail now, just to kind of pick up some of my favorites while we were showing the replay. Vincent, and we'll cycle through these. We'll comment on a few, but just want to get some of these, some of the attention they deserve. Vincent thinks that the triple threat is going to steal the show, and also is talking about how Becky is making the IC title relevant again, but therefore thinks Becky will retain, and it would become Becky and Bayley at SummerSlam. I think it's a bit of a risky move to get rid of Lyra at this stage, but again, we'll touch on that in a bit more detail very soon. Derek wants to see Mami on top once again, winning the World Heavyweight Championship as well. Who else have we got here? Jordan Gray seems to be the favorite going into the NXT Championship match here as well. We've got Lynette saying that. I think Vincent had the same kind of thoughts. Well, Vincent was reminding us, of course, that the winner, whoever it is going to face Masha at Slammiversary as well. What else do we have? We talked about Julia and her being US champ, but being in the Battle Royal. Vincent also thinks with a tag team match that Sol Ruka will be the MVP of the match. And I said in the comments, that's not a bad shout. She's had a fantastic weekend so far. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing what she can do. In response to some of the clips on Friday night's big preview, Vincent also said that Alexa was injured at Evolution 1. She was the manager, and Alicia Fox, I should say, replaced her, of course. So yeah, really good to see Alexa getting an opportunity to wrestle at number 2 as well. And a great point here as well that Charlotte needs to get over, and Alexa is helping her do that. I completely agree with that. I think it's been a positive thing for Charlotte. Let's see where it goes after this, and I'm hoping they don't win the belts. But again, we'll save that for a little bit later on. Loads of good chat about the Battle Royal and who we might see there as well. Generally speaking, people think Stephanie Valkyria could be winning it. Lynette wants to see a return from Paige. I would like to see that as well. I do think it is quite likely. The last one, of course, just to remind us all, was won by Nia Jax. As you say, Lucas, you would have rewatched that a few days back. I did as well. A very good showing from Nia there. And a lot of rumors going around about possible surprises. We'll get back to this in a little bit, but I want to mention a comment now. Apparently, Fightful were reporting that Jazz, Tori Wilson, Medusa, who's that?
Lanny Kai.
Oh, okay. And we're all in Atlanta, maybe to be at ringside, maybe to be in a Battle Royal. Again, we'll touch on that a little bit more later on because there's plenty of Legends talk coming your way as well. Speaking of Legends, Lynette thinks Lash Legend could win the Battle Royal itself, but would have to go with Mami in the World Championship match. And as you said, Lucas, it looks like that match is going to be closing the show tonight. Let's throw it over to some of these match graphics and break down the card in more detail. One more comment I want to get to before we do that, though, is Vincent also said that today is apparently the 10-year anniversary of the Women's Revolution starting on July the 13th. And then also it was the same day that 3 of the 4 horsewomen debuted on the main roster. And that was a Raw in Atlanta, Georgia. So it is very, very kind of tied up with historical anniversaries and things like that here as well. So Vincent, thank you so much for that comment, mate. Absolutely love it. Right, let's move on to the card itself, Lucas. And again, I gave my thoughts mainly on Friday night's big preview anyway, but I do want to know what you think is going to happen here on the big show tonight. So let's go in without further ado into a match that I'm actually very, very looking forward to, and we saw in the comments there could potentially steal the show. Lyra Valkyria going up against Becky Lynch and Bayley. Of course, Becky Lynch still Intercontinental champion. And my general thoughts, again, without going into it too much, is that I can't pick who wins here. I think it all depends on what they do at SummerSlam. Is it a one-on-one between the two legends, essentially? Or is it going to be keeping Lyra in the mix? Maybe even Bayley dipping out again. Who knows? It's been an interesting story that they've told. My heart says Bayley. I want Bayley to win. I want it on her CV. I think it makes the title look good, just like Becky holding it makes it look good as well. When we look further down the line at its kind of historical records. But I'm not 100% confident about that. I also don't like the idea. I'm not the biggest Lyra fan. I know some people aren't really enjoying her, but some people are the opposite side. They're really loving her. So she's kind of Marmite to some at the moment. But I do think it would be unfair to kick her out of the feud right before SummerSlam. So in my opinion, this should probably go to another triple threat at SummerSlam. But I would like to see Bayley win it here. What are your thoughts on this one, Lucas?
So, yeah, I've gone back and forth. This one, because I'm convinced there is going to be a title change tonight. I don't see a reason to book so many championship matches and not have any belts change hands.
Yeah.
But this was one where I was not sure whether they would do it. And obviously, yeah, it does obviously lead into SummerSlam, where I do imagine the match is going to be Bayley against Becky Lynch. But it's just whether Bayley goes into that match as champion or not. And I think that they will go with Bayley winning the championship tonight. Because I would say, I will say that for now. But because of other things I think will happen in other matches, I'm going to go with this being one of the kind of standout ones.
Yeah.
Because last time they did Evolution, Bayley was in a 6-woman tag match. She did get heavily shafted at WrestleMania. Got done the big time at WrestleMania this year. She even got done the dirty a few years back as well.
When she wasn't even on the show, even though she got us through the pandemic era. Yeah.
So I think this will be a good thing to do. and we may even see that match, I believe, kick off the show, is my prediction.
Yeah, those are the reports going around at the moment. Vincent is kind of saying that in the comments, as is Christopher. Again, always good to have you guys in the chat and keeping us up to date with the rumors around there at the moment. That's what this build-up show is all about, guys. We're trying to get hyped up and in the mood, but also talking about breaking news stories. Who's been spotted at the airport? Who's got an injury?
Yeah.
You know, we saw a big, sad change to All In the other night with Adam Cole's injury as well. So that's what, you know, these shows are all about, basically talking these last-minute rumors. So keep them coming. What you see online, we'll kind of dissect those as well. So yeah, we might not have long to wait.
Sitting down in the arena, like, you do realize the show starts at midnight. Like,
yeah, so it's a while away, an hour and just under an hour and 45 minutes. I'd be at the bar, but I'd be getting some food anyway. Hey, get some food as well, mate. I'm on the Agua tonight. I mean, I'm trying to be.
Oh, I can't hear you. Don't know what's happened there. I don't know if we lost Scott or whatever. But I was just saying, I find it very weird people being in the arena already. I hope that people can hear me.
You hear me?
Yeah, I just heard that. I find it very. If people literally sat down behind my hook, you can see them. And, you know, just
you paid for your seat, man. You ain't gonna lose it. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue some people are maybe thinking it'd be a pre-show match or something.
Yeah, look, if there's any WWE show that could, it's usually WrestleMania or here.
Get near the panel. See, this is why I liked when I went to Bash in Berlin. They did the pre-show panel outside, and they had like loads of outside. But yeah, this is obviously the panel inside the arena, which is quite different. But yeah. I find it a very odd thing. Anyone who does this, please let us know why. Like, is there a reason why you want to sit in the arena?
Why they get to their seats? Yeah,
minutes before anything happens.
I feel like we're in a little bit of a delay here, Lucas. I'm not sure if it's the case for you, but hopefully it will. Actually, I heard you can click there. It sounds like it's probably caught back up.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you perfectly. So
all right, good.
Side.
Yeah, no worries. Let's get to some more comments as well. We've got Christopher saying he hopes Bayley wins because she deserves her flowers, as we agreed earlier on. What was you saying there, Lucas?
I was saying they're showing a highlight package of, I guess, women who we've lost throughout the. Oh no, not lost. Legends, then I guess, because Tori Wilson's part of it.
Yeah,
we were deceased. Famula. They're showing Wilson as well. I think that thing is, this is the thing I don't get, like, because the thing I was going to say before, when I was talking about the video package at the start of the show, is they do their best to make these video packages look like these people have been feuding for years, like these are like WrestleMania level feuds, but half the stuff in the video package happened this week.
Like, yeah. I mean, the build,
like, if they could put the same bit into pretending that these things are being built up to, just do it for real. just do the building things up. But
I think even
the main thing I want to say, the IC title match.
The promo video made it look like it was huge. Like the cold open looked like you say, like these are storylines that have been going on for months.
But it's all mainly been, I think, 90% of it been this week.
Yeah.
What I might do is I might hop out and hop back in. Maybe that might fix it.
Yeah, no worries. That's all right, mate. Let's do that for now. Hopefully we can get that sorted. But get to some of the comments here as well. Again, Bayley thinks... Christopher thinks, I'm sure Bayley thinks, I've done it twice, both times about Bayley. Christopher thinks that Bayley deserves her flowers and will hopefully win. We've got a comment here as well, also asking what time the show starts tonight. In the UK, it's at midnight, so that's 1 hour and 40 minutes away. So if you're not in the UK, calculate it from wherever you are, 1 hour and 40 minutes away. And we're going to take you right up to as close as we can, really, to the show itself. Again, welcome to the build-up show. What we do here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel is get you hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE and ourselves while we're at it. And I'm sure it's going to be a big, exciting show and an exciting one to kind of break down and predict as well. Again, we're going to have Lucas back in just a moment and we're going to hear his thoughts on the card overall. But I think this has room for a lot of surprises, not only the Battle Royal, but surprises as far as title changes, possible turns. There's a lot we could see here tonight, and it's a huge card. I think it's like 7 matches, if I'm not mistaken. Let's count them up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches. Yeah. So it's a big card with a lot of potential for kind of swerves and big stories to come out of it. And again, we all know what this is, right? WWE have jumped on this weekend that AEW had basically booked for themselves and brought it to them to try and, it would seem, take a hold of the news cycle. WWE been putting on some great shows this weekend, as have AEW, but can WWE steal the stories one more time by having some big news coming out of Evolution? Again, keep your comments coming, guys. Let us know what you think is going to happen at Evolution and what your thoughts and memories of the first one. Myself and Lucas were mentioning earlier on how we both rewatched it this week, and it is incredible seeing the change in kind of some of the careers of the people that you see in that. Bianca Belair was in the audience, basically. You know, she was waving to be like, hey, I'm here happy as a woman. You know, look at her now. She's been a multiple-time world champion and, of course, a future Hall of Famer. And again, you can say that about many of the women featured in that first Evolution card, who at the time were kind of babies in their WWE careers. So it's incredible what they've all managed to do. And again, not just in the WWE. Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné, great example of that this weekend as well. Going to bring Lucas back in now. I think we may have solved the issue. Hopefully that's the case. Let's see how we're doing. Lucas, how are you?
Hello.
All right, that seems good to me. That seems good to me, mate. But you're right, man. You're talking about the build and how it appears like from the incredible production team they've made it look like this is something that's been built up for months and months. It's just not the case. But I think it will deliver. I think the cold open is fantastic for those that haven't seen it. It's been shown on the Countdown show. It's also been on WWE's YouTube for a few days now as well. But of course, it will open the PLE later on if you haven't seen it already. But it got me emotional, like as did Evolution 1. Rewatching Evolution 1 the other day, it made me realize just how far things had come at that point, let alone what we've got to now. So yeah, really looking forward to this show overall.
So obviously coming out of yesterday, it did seem that, there was a lot of reports, coming that they do want to go head to head with AEW more, as they've obviously booked the next NXT event, Heatwave, will take place on the same day as Forbidden Door. Obviously, with that be a time difference anyway, because it's in different countries. But it does seem like this is a tactic they actually are willing and wanting to do. To get those talking points. It's about, it's not about like, I guess, quality or anything. It's mainly about them just having that last say going out of the weekend, which is, I think particularly like yesterday, I think was a rough one, for them, because obviously going up against a big stadium event, like All In, with obviously what they had, which essentially, Saturday Night's main event now is just a house show, it's a televised house show, it's a television special. And, then before that, the NXT, which just didn't deliver the best card. They wouldn't have the best card, though I think the show actually really over-delivered in a weird way. It wasn't one of the best NXT shows, but I think definitely, they did their best to up the ante, particularly with the main event, women's tag, and Ethan and Ricky Saints having the Force Anywhere gimmick.
Yeah. I do actually want to rewatch, especially that match. I didn't see as much of it as I wanted to, but man, we've been spoiled for choice this weekend. But yeah, it was a good show from what I saw.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they actively want to do this. But I think it'll be interesting seeing the tactics they use next time, because I think there'll be a lot of lessons learned from this. Because it hasn't been, I don't know. We're going to hear the earnings call tonight, the record-breaking, record-breaking attendance.
No, sadly not.
I don't think we're going to hear any of that, because even that period, because someone posted it earlier as well. I saw that period of Raw in 2024 kind of thing, when they were announcing every single week was a sellout. So they showed Becky Lynch going through the metal detector with the championship. It's quite fun.
I think you're a little ahead of me. Yeah, okay, I've seen it now. I was looking at her versus Charlotte photos from 2018, but yeah,
they're just spotlighting all the different women, which I think it's a good way. Obviously use this time, though they could just have a match on the pre-show as well. That that wouldn't go amiss.
It would, you know. I was trying to say earlier, like when we were having a bit of connection trouble there. Like WrestleMania is one where you think, yeah, to throw more people on the card, but Evolution as well. It's the you could call it the WrestleMania of women's wrestling, you know. So like, there's room. I mean, there's 7 matches. I mean, look, they usually do 4 or 5 anyway. So even 1 or 2 of them, with what's been announced, could have been on the pre-show. Not saying I want anything demoted or anything like that, but yeah, there's certainly room. I mean, look at AEW yesterday. They had about 3 matches on their pre-show, and then it went about 15 hours after that as well. You know, so it can be done. It can be done.
6-hour event, wasn't it?
Oh, it's unreal. Great event, great matches, but yeah. And if there's any time to do it, it's their kind of WrestleMania. Don't get me wrong, but man, it was a lot, and plays into why we're a bit tired tonight.
It's not for people in the comments as well. Like, do you think we see AEW with All In particular? Do they move to a 2-night model?
I do. I really do. But the format of the show needs it. The ticket sales, though, I'm not too sure about that. That's the only kind of concern.
They'd have to do arenas, I think, if they did that.
Yeah. I mean, it took WWE, and this isn't a slight on AW in any way. It took WWE a long time to be able to justifiably do a 2-night WrestleMania, you know, and be confident in themselves that they would do it. But yeah, anyway, let's get back onto the cards and break down some of the matches here that we're going to see tonight. As I say, I've already given my my predictions already, but I'll kind of give a little bit of an update for those that have just tuned in or may not have seen it. But we started off with the Intercontinental Championship match. I want it to be Bayley. I think the most likely one is probably Becky Lynch, and then maybe Bayley does it at SummerSlam, or Lyra gets it back at SummerSlam. But then again, that's because I'm thinking SummerSlam is a big show. But this is also a big show. So where's your mind on this one, mate? Who do you think ultimately is going to be walking out with the IC strap tonight?
Yeah, I still think it's Bayley. I think this will kick off the show. And I think how I would book this, how I'm looking at this show is you have your big, fan favourite win at the start. Battle Royal will go in the middle of the card, and we'll have a couple of surprises, some nostalgias. I can't think of anyone who's injured or anything that would come back, but
yeah.
Then someone's music hits, you go, oh yeah, they haven't been around for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think a Battle Royal is a perfect time to do that because, it's that kind of match you can do that with. And then at the latter end of the show, obviously have the shows, what they would hope should be the show stealer match in Rio and Io Sky. So yeah, I'll just go with Bayley winning. I think it sets the tone right for this whole show. Even if it is Bayley wins, then she's going to just drop it back to Becky Lynch at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I think the fact of having the moment here, I think would be very important. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, again, we always say there's a risk of hot potato in the title and stuff like that. But if any titles are okay, in my opinion, with hot potato in, it's to give it to legends to make a title look good in its lineage and legacy. So I'm not, and to someone that really deserves it, again, in Bayley. There was that clip going around that she shared the other day, and was she said something along the lines of, you don't know what this means to me, or something like that, about Evolution being really important. So I'm really hoping that's not just her selling the PLE as the company gal that she is, and instead it maybe is a bit of a hint as to what we might see here at Evolution. All right, let's move on to the next match to predict. And again, this is one we've touched on a little bit already over this weekend, just simply because 2 of these were competing at NXT's Great American Bash in a tag team match. I was speculating at the time that this match maybe was that one at least was a bit throwaway, because it was almost like a...
You really hated that match.
Yeah, no, but because it just felt like a go-home match. But, it main evented. It was decent. And there wasn't a turn from Blake Monroe. We could see that tonight, maybe not now. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this one? Is it as simple as people, I think, expect? We saw a lot of people in the comments earlier on saying that Jordan Grace is probably going to pick up the win here.
No, I disagree. I think JC Jane's winning.
Wow.
Because Misha Slamovich is a babyface. And that's the next title defense.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing where I think the winner of this is facing Misha Slamovich, and I think and because she got pinned last night as well, it's a lot of these things. And the thing is, like, JC Jane, like, it's really weird, this, because she was in the background of Fatal Attraction with Mandy Rose and stuff.
Yeah,
she's been in the background, like, for a lot of stuff. But I do think, like, this is one where, because she beat Stephanie Vaquer, who at the time was literally, like, the most decorated, the most over person on NXT, I think they might want to keep it a bit longer until someone beats her, just to build this reign up. And just because, like I said, she got pinned last night, I just think something's going to happen. Something's going to happen in this. So yeah, my pick is Jacy Jayne to retain.
It'd be cool if, just because you've mentioned it there, a name I'd like to see back is Mandy Rose. Imagine Mandy Rose got involved here, and that's the way to bring her back in. But yeah, I mean, the retention I think makes more sense because, like you say, now anyway that we've come away from NXT because, like I say, she took the pin. And usually you don't. It usually goes reverse, right, of what we see on a go home. And again, I know it won't go home, but the match it kind of was treated in that way. It did set up what we're seeing here as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just like at the last Evolution, good to see some NXT representation as well. But yeah, really hoping we get a fun match here. Talking about representation, we are now going to get some representation from WrestleSphere and wrestling royalty from none other than Mr. Andrew Spores. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. This is all new to me. I haven't joined since you've moved on.
Oh, have you not been on with the new flashy graphics? Oh.
No, I like it. Very cool. How are you guys? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to have you back on. It's been a crazy weekend of wrestling, and I'm sure that's going to be part of the conversation anyway. But yeah, what are your general thoughts at the moment coming out of a very busy Saturday night, a busy enough Friday night to be fair as well. And then now, one of the shows that I think are the most highly anticipated, even if it wasn't booked that way for the past few months. What are your thoughts going into it, mate?
Well, I'm going to start by plugging the wrestling that everyone should be talking about last night, which was North Wrestling up in Newcastle, which was a record attendance up in the Walker Dome, and we saw a new champion. So Leon Slater, I think, is now kind of free to go across to TNA because Gene Money is now the North champion. So yeah, big shout out to North. Which did then mean when I came back from it, I had to catch up on NXT, and then I was trying to keep track of what was going on at AEW.
Yeah.
And then main event I watched this morning.
Mate, it was hard enough doing it all live. I can only imagine what it was like being at another show in person and then trying to catch up with everything we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, with AEW, like, I like to keep interested in what's going on. Like, I have nothing against them. It's just I only have a certain amount of time in my life that I can kind of dedicate to wrestling. So I was gutted. I saw while I was at the show the announcement about Adam Cole.
Yeah,
huge Adam Cole fan, and just think he's such an unlucky guy in terms of, like, you know, the injuries that he's had and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I don't think AEW's ever really seen his full potential.
No.
Definitely NXT Black and Gold era, Adam Cole would be up on there. Mount Rushmore for that. So yeah, really, my heart goes out to him. But yeah, I've managed to watch pretty much every match that was on there. The only one I haven't watched is one of the main event matches. I think it was the Randy Orton match I haven't watched.
Okay.
So I know what happens, but it was just kind of like I ran a half marathon this morning as well. So
mate, look at you just bragging now. He's a busy guy.
But as far as tonight goes, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's one of those kind of slow burners. I don't think people gave it a lot of heed, and then all of a sudden, like over this week, they've really pushed it into a position where I think there's quite a few matches that look pretty damn good, to be honest.
Mate, it's a very, very tasty card. And we're going to break down each and every one of the matches. I gave most of my preview predictions on the preview show on Friday, but really want to hear what you've got to say, Andy, and of course, Lucas as well. Also, love to hear what Tori Wilson's got to say, because she's on the countdown panel at the moment, by the way, guys. So, again, if you're watching the countdown, let us be your kind of watch-along experience for it. If anything happens, like something wild, like, I don't know, a match, we might talk about that as well. But I don't see it happening on this show, even though that is, again, a space where they could do it because they have such a big roster. But anyway, we've got, as I say, Tori Wilson on the panel now. Will we see more surprises throughout the night? I reckon we will. But let's move into the card itself. Actually, before we move on to the next one, I'll quickly get your thoughts, Andy, on the Intercontinental Championship. Myself and Lucas were kind of liking the idea of maybe Bayley winning because, you know, quite frankly, she deserves it. But at the same time, WWE don't strike me as kind of the sentimental type sometimes. So maybe it's staying on Becky to do something, a different story at SummerSlam. Maybe it's triple threat at SummerSlam. Maybe it's 1-on-1. Bayley's out of the picture. Maybe Lyra goes out of the way, which I think would be a real shame as well, because I know not, again, people mix on Lyra, but to take the feud away from her at SummerSlam would be kind of a harsh thing to me as well. So what are your thoughts going into this one? And does SummerSlam kind of play into it?
Yeah, I think because of how many, the inclusion of these like Saturday night main events that they've been doing almost breaks up a real run into the premium live events. So it kind of feels like odd that, what, is SummerSlam 2 weeks away or something now?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Is it even that close? My goodness. I didn't even realize.
So, you've kind of got to factor in things tonight that they could push into SummerSlam, especially as it's a 2-night SummerSlam, which to me, I think is absolutely ridiculous. But that's almost as ridiculous as having a halftime show during a football match like this going on tonight. But anyway, I would say for this one, I think anyone who's ever heard me talk about it before, I'm not a big Lyra fan. I find her character incredibly boring because I don't think she's got one. They've done a lot to give her more, but to me, it's more of a case of exactly. If she comes out on those damn wings tonight, my God. But she's just Becky Lynch light, right? There's not a lot to her.
I think she's growing as a performer. I think there's a lot of potential there. And I think she's in the right spot as far as Intercontinental title picture and 2 legends kind of lifting her up. But I think a big part of this is lifting up the title as well. You know, it's got the name Intercontinental, but adding those legends to that history of the lineage of the title, I think is only doing good things for it. I'm going to quickly get some of these comments as well. Kieran says, Tori Wilson just said on the Countdown show that she's brung some gear for the ring just in case. I reckon she might be showing up in that battle royal. Christopher says, if Becky Lynch wins, she pins Lyra. Be quite a statement if that is the case. But yeah, if you had to pick, Andy, who would you say is going over in this one?
I think Becky's going to win it. I think it's a bit too early to move the title off of her, and I think there's a lot of matchups that you can put Becky in with other members of the roster that would build them up to sort of like the level of Becky. I think we're more likely to see Bayley versus Lyra in a kind of like feud for the next few weeks. But yeah, I would rather see the IC title on the line at SummerSlam held by Becky than anyone else. Okay. But I get what you mean about Bayley, and also I guess it would put her and Becky in rarefied air because they'd only need the US title, right? And then they'd have everything.
Yeah, good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what these kind of, again, I call them legends. I know they're still active performers, but let's be right, you know, they're going to be Hall of Famers. So now that you've got these mid-card titles, it is about ticking them all off the list and kind of almost stepping down, which I think is refreshing as well, because the last thing I want to see is the main event clogged up by Becky Lynch, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, you know, because we've seen it so often. So I think they've done it quite well. They've actually lucked out with these kind of mid-card titles in a way. But that is the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship. A lot of reports going around that it will open the show, so we'll know the result of that quite soon, I guess. One that is, again, a very interesting one to break down because of what we saw at Great American Bash is the NXT Championship. And again, myself and Lucas have touched on this already, but Andy, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you see the title changing? I think going into the weekend, most people were saying yes, a lot of people still are, but Great American Bash has swayed Lucas's opinion on this one.
The thing I would say is I don't think WWE is particularly keen on transitional champions, and this would be the sort of case in point. If they swap the title, Jacy Jayne would be forever known as a transitional champion. So unless you're willing to let us steer into that in a character, I don't see it happening. But then again, how many times can you put Jordynne Grace forward for a title shot and not pull the trigger at some point? So it is difficult to kind of see. But yeah, it normally on the Go Home show, which I guess in some respects last night's Great American Bash acted as for Evolution.
Yeah, very weird, but yeah.
The one who takes the pin is normally the one who ends up winning the next night. So I could completely get on board why Lucas would say that. So I'd like to see Jordynne with the title because I think she has that sort of gravitas from her days in TNA where it would make sense to see her with the belt. But I think Jacy Jayne's got a lot more to offer. And they're playing into this whole the interview where she didn't invite the other members and like wanted the spotlight for herself. Like I kind of like steering into that a little bit more. There's maybe more story there for them to play into.
All right.
Well, they did the kind of the fake argument thing, didn't they? Which it seems to really be a weird like obsession they've currently got from a storyline perspective. They did that similarly with Theory and Waller, earlier in the year on NXT. When they had the whole fake argument and then think there's problems and there's not. But I think this is actually done in quite a smart way, because I think that Fatal Influence they've been a part of the background of NXT for like quite a long time. And so I think there's a lot of kind of nuances to that kind of friendship and relationship. But ultimately, usually with these things, like there usually needs to be a takedown of the stable before they lose the belt. You often get that, like, remember when CM Punk and Orton had their feud when Punk owned the Nexus, for example. Orton went through the other Nexus members in order to get his hands on Punk at WrestleMania. Like you always see it, same with Straight Society. I mentioned two stables that are involved here in Punk, but like it's always the way. Like, and there hasn't really been anything between Jordan Grace and the other stable members, which I find to be quite odd. So I think this might be the one where they kind of bring those stable members on to product interference, and then they set up Heatwave, being the next NXT event, which is literally 5 weeks away. It's bonkers. And then that will be the time that Jordan Grace gets it. Because I think as well, like having an NXT belt change hands on like a main roster show, like maybe something they don't really want to do right now.
Yeah, I guess it could take away from an NXT moment on NXT as well, right? So
yeah. That's what I would do. I'd build up to a rematch. Maybe have a steel cage match, something at Heatwave.
Yeah,
it could also put eyes on the promotion though by changing hands, because then you think, oh damn, like because Jordan Grace isn't new to like the main roster because she's on Royal Rumble. So if people go, oh, she's got the title, I might find out what happens, next week, especially if it's in a kind of weird circumstance. But we could also see something like a Blake Monroe turn or something, just give her like
So I mean, there was talk that it could have happened on Great American Bash. Christopher's in the comments here saying that Blake could be the one to beat JC Jane for the title herself. So look, I don't see Blake being a babyface for too much longer. It's built into a character, it would seem, to be a heel. But yeah, I mean, the good thing about this is, like I say, going into this weekend, it felt quite clear cut. But now that, we've seen the Great American Bash and certain things that happen there, and, looking at the rest of this card, and the great thing about these build-ups is kind of getting the chat off of you guys and kind of hearing these other opinions, essentially. It does make you realize that this maybe is a little bit more open than it first would seem. Talking about open, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here for a new champion as well, because we've got the tag team titles on line, of course. The Judgment Day, now represented by Raquel Rodriguez and her new partner of Roxanne Perez, facing off against the odd team of Charlotte and Alexa, and Sol Ruka and Zarya, and the Kabuki Warriors, of course, back together now as well. Now, of course, Kabuki Warriors, great to see them back. It was kind of thrown together last minute, but hey, I'm not moaning because the match will be fun. For me, though, this is all about the Judgment Day retaining and Roxanne kind of proving herself, essentially, to Raquel, so that later on when Liv does come back, it can get a little bit messy in the Judgment Day once again. I think giving it to Charlotte and Alexa is my big fear, as much as I like both of them. My worry is that it is the kind of typical kind of, can these two coexist? They're not really mates, and I think that's detrimental to the tag division if they're holding the titles when you see these other teams in there. Throw it over to you first of all on this one, Lucas. What are your thoughts here? Who do you think is going to win? And do the NXT girls have any chance, really?
Probably not. But yeah, I want anyone but Judgment Day to win. Yeah, I'm still mourning the New Day's title loss as well on Monday. But for me, it just screams we're out of ideas. That's the thing. It just screams we're out of ideas. We have nothing to do other than to put the belts back on people who had them before and didn't defend them. So yeah. Anyway, but in terms of this match, I think that you're probably going to have to go with Judgment Day retaining, though, like being realistic, because they've just done the partner change. Because why not just get the belts and have them mismatched for the vacant belts, so they then if they wanted to do the whole new champions. But I do believe that Charlotte and Alexa will win the tag titles, most likely at SummerSlam. SmackDown before SummerSlam, because tag match starts. Yes.
Of course.
So yeah, because
Even if it's 2 nights, though, you never know. It might make it on.
nah, probably still not.
Yeah.
WrestleMania still put the TLC match on SmackDown.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I have to imagine they want to do that. But they didn't. They had them already, and they going on the off-hour thing of the go home show. Obviously, Charlotte and Alexa were victorious, or Alexa was victorious in the 4-way match on SmackDown.
Mm.
So it would seem that this time it won't happen.
Yeah.
For them.
Great closing segment for that match as well, by the way. Nice little kind
Yeah,
of workaround.
yeah,
Really
like
cool.
yeah. There's definitely some good moments in that. But yeah, I think this is one where the champions retain. I think I would prefer it to go to somewhere else, but I
Yeah.
understand with the change only happened recently. I can see why they might want to give it a bit more time. But yeah, champions retain.
Yeah, no, for me, I think it's the same. It's a bit of a story to tell, at least with the Roxanne Perez thing. I'm not usually a fan of someone getting a title kind of being thrown into it as the new partner, but the last few times they've kind of made it seem like they've not retained they've won the title themselves in that kind of first defense. So it kind of, I don't mind it so much like that. Christopher agrees though, thinks that Judgment Day will retain as well, because again, surely there's a bit of a story to tell here with Liv when she comes back. I mean, she could even appear tonight. She doesn't have to wrestle, remember, to be in storyline, so who knows. Andy though, what are your thoughts, mate? Do you think it's Judgment Day, or are we changing the titles here?
Yeah, I think this is, if you look at the card, this is the one where the title is going to change.
Okay.
Because I just, the way that they've built Charlotte and Alexa, it just feels like it's inevitable, and it's Charlotte Flair. So let's face it, it's probably going to happen. I think you're right.
Won much this year though, since coming back.
Even more so, Charlotte. She can't lose forever. But no, I would personally see it as you probably will see Liv Morgan tonight. And I think she'll be sort of scorned that she's not the tag team champion anymore, and I think she might end up costing them. So I think there's still story in it, but I think there's a better story to be told if Roxanne Perez loses the title, because then she's kind of got to justify her position, because she lost the one thing that was kind of her way in. I think that'd be cool, and especially if it then creates a little bit more friction, that because of maybe Liv's music hitting or something, they end up getting distracted and lose the titles. It kind of keeps it as a bit of a screwy finish where Charlotte or Alexa can kind of claim the victory. But I think there'll be good showings for everyone else. It should be a good match. It just depends how they do it. I hope it's not one of those two teams in at a time and they've got to tag out, because it just doesn't make any sense. Just put one person of each team in the ring at the same time.
Yeah.
I hate those ones.
What do you mean?
So when you have to tag, it could be not even your team member, but there's only 2 legal people in the ring.
Oh no, it's 4. It'd be 4 because it's fatal 4-way, isn't it? Fatal 4-way tag.
I don't. WWE seems to have the rules
but sometimes
where
they do that, though, don't they?
Randomly throw it in.
Yeah, even though
I think the fatal 4-way part means that there has to be 4 people in the ring.
I thought it was just 4 teams. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, hopefully that's the case, because
like the one where they have to tag with people.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's much better when they do it without the need.
It's worse when there's 3 though, because when they have the ones where it's 3 and it's like, well, it's a no disqualification, because what's the point? You don't need to tag. Do it. It's a tornado, because you can't get disqualified. So just get in the ring. Like, it doesn't make sense why you chill on the outside.
Yeah, it makes the match like a bit difficult, and then you've also got to factor in. Yeah, it makes it too confusing, I think, personally.
Yeah.
I was having some microphone issues, but yeah, I sometimes I will say it does work well when it's like some to get in, and like their team.
I think we're having sound problems with you, Scott. Yeah, I think we're having sound problems with Scott. Because Andy and I were to discuss why he does that. Yes, I think in terms of this tag match, well, where do we see this taking place in the card? Do you see it coming quite early, or
Hello?
Isn't it? Because last time there was 2, I want to say 2 tag matches. Yeah, there was a 6-woman tag with Bayley, Sasha Banks, and that against Riot Squad, and then there was a tag match that was mentioned by someone in the comments earlier, where it was Trish and Lita, I want to say, against Alicia, meant to be Alexa Bliss, wasn't it? Mickey James, I think. Yeah, it was that. So there was 2 tag matches. This time we're getting 1. This might even go quite late in the show, I guess, isn't it? Maybe when the triple threat starts.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Very loud.
All
Very
right.
loud.
Well, I was going to
Another
say,
way.
especially if there is a title change, it could be towards the end of the show for that reason as well.
But if Liv, I guess it's a shoulder injury. I guess she could come out in like a cast, couldn't she? I guess, and do a distraction. Didn't do anything physical, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could probably see her getting involved actually.
Christopher says Roxanne Perez has had 20 losses and 8 wins in 2025, so she's definitely needing a few more wins to kind of be a little bit more credible to stay in the Judgment Day. I don't see Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss winning, he says, the Women's Tag Team Championships. I think, like Andy says, it will happen eventually. Like they are put together to become champions in my mind. But again, whether or not it's tonight or on SummerSlam, I don't know. Young Edward joins us as well. Hope you're doing well. Says, do we have any thoughts on Paige coming back? Edward, we're going to get to that very, very soon because I'd imagine most people expected to be in the Battle Royal. You can see what Andy thinks of it just by that. But we'll talk about Paige in a little bit. But thanks for your comment, buddy. Keep your comments coming and let us know what you're most excited for tonight. And any kind of surprises you do throw in there as far as suggestions for it and rumors, we'll get to those as well. The idea of this show is to get us hyped up and in the mood and get you guys hyped up and in the mood. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling build-up show. You're joined by myself, Scott, also Lucas, and our friend Andrew Spores from Wrestling Royalty and WrestleSphere. Now, again, this is all about breaking down last-minute rumors, so keep them coming, guys. We love it when people spotted at airports and things like that. Sometimes the news isn't always good. You know, last night we broke the news that Adam Cole, as Andy alluded to earlier on, was having some health issues. And, that's what these shows are all about, kind of not only getting hyped up for the show itself, but talking last minute rumors and things like that as well. We'll try and keep up to date with all the stories going on as we lead into Evolution. It's a big, big night in professional wrestling. The Countdown show is still the panel. What do you know? No matches, sadly, but don't worry about that because we will carry on talking about some matches we're actually going to see. Let's move away from the tag team titles and talk a little bit about that Battle Royal. We alluded to it just there. Surely going to be some surprises. But before we get to that, let's look at the field as it currently stands. Some heavy hitters in there straight away. But as you would expect, no surprises have been ruined just yet. We've got Nikki Bella in the middle of the graphic. Everyone from Ivy Nile to Zelina Vega and Nia Jax. Candice LeRae in there as well, Mia Yim. So some big names in the Battle Royal itself, but surely, guys, it's going to be about surprises. So let's throw it over to Andy first. Who do you think could we see showing up at the Battle Royal?
Oh, see, we do this every time when it's like the Royal Rumble, and you think, oh, who's going to be? And then there's just no one. It does feel like there could be at least one. And all the sort of signs point towards an AJ Lee return. Because if the things are to be believed, WWE dropped Best of AJ Lee on YouTube
2 days ago.
Yeah, they also dropped some merchandise as well, which hasn't been there previously. So either they're trolling and they know what they're doing, and they're just kind of capitalizing on that noise, or it is going to happen. But in terms of this match, I don't think you need loads of like throwbacks because the whole point of Evolution is to showcase the talent they've got. And there's so many women that don't get on the card that they've had to create a show. Now, for me, I'm shocked that Stephanie Vaquer hasn't had more spotlight since she's moved up to the main roster. So I think this is the big moment. And I think having her in the main event or in a title shot at Clash at Paris makes sense because I think she'll go down well with the European crowd as well. So my money's on Stephanie with a return for AJ Lee that will lead to something at SummerSlam.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think Stephanie's the most likely winner in this. There's a chance for Nikki Bella because she's booked on this show for a reason. Of course, the Liv thing was surely the original storyline there, but I got a sneaky feeling that she maybe could win because of that. But maybe not. Maybe it will be Stephanie. I think she's the most likely out of the entire field that we've seen. If it's a returning person or two, I don't think they'll be winning. I think it will be someone that's in that graphic that we've already seen. And touching on that return rumor again, Young Edward also says AJ Lee with news of coming back. She doesn't come back tonight, then apparently word could be at SummerSlam. It's another option. I think that's a big thing for AJ Lee, though. Really, it's that we've seen so many times where she could have come back, and the Rumble for me was the biggest one. This past one especially, I felt like it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen, and then it didn't. And I thought, well, there's got to be a reason. It's got to be a timing reason. So then you think, okay, what, WrestleMania, SummerSlam? But at the time, we didn't know there was going to be another Evolution. And now that we are hours away from another Evolution, or an hour away, I should say, it seems way more likely at this stage. Let's throw it over to you, Lucas. Let's first touch on the AJ Lee rumors. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think that's the SummerSlam thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that's a SummerSlam thing. I think a Battle Royal makes it a bit trickier for that return to be facilitated, particularly if she's not going to win. I think that more suits a Rumble, in my opinion. If you've got them in a Battle Royal, everyone's going to come out at once, so they might do the slow burn thing where they have like most of the lower card people come out first,
Yeah.
and they have like the bigger names come out, and then that's
With their own music and
But it'd be a bit weird if she didn't win. Now, I kind of I've gone between the two names that you said, because Nikki Bella's obviously been booked on the show for a reason, and it seemed that apparently Liv Morgan was apparently meant to face every single person on the planet at this show, because they had to rewrite the entire show just because she couldn't make it because of her injury. But surely Nikki Bella could have just had like another match. I mean, you got Julia right next to her in the graphic. Surely that could have been Nikki Bella's match. She said, we're going to do this.
Yeah, US title.
So, I've gone between the two, Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquer, and I think they do it. I say just do a draw. So have them both go over the top rope at the same time.
Wow.
Like, genuinely. Like, because they keep doing these annoying things where you're setting up singles matches over and over and over again. Like, we've seen it already with, obviously, Queen of the Ring getting the title shot at SummerSlam. And then you've had title shot of this, blah, blah. Like, just give them both, yeah? I don't know, just give them both the win. Then it might be a bit of a cop-out answer.
Yeah, slightly controversial.
I think particularly because she hasn't wrestled in Europe in probably like 7 years now, I guess, isn't it? Since the last time she was full-time. I think she's still like going to draw an attraction to the thing. The thing is, going back to rewatching the first Evolution, like Nikki Bella, in my opinion, fully understood her assignment for that show. The Bella Twins did a fantastic job of being the heat magnets for Ronda Rousey, which again is crazy to think. Obviously, now we're the other side of Ronda Rousey's. Well, definitely WWE career, it seems. Maybe even wrestling career. But I think that at the time, that was the vehicle used to obviously get her over and to get her established as like the big star they wanted her to be. And the Bellas were a big part of that. And I think there would be a draw to that happening. But I can also see what Andy was saying, with regards to Stephanie being very popular with the European crowds, and the fact they haven't really done much with her since kind of bringing her up. But we saw this previously with Lyra Valkyria. She was brought up obviously last year, kind of didn't do much for a long time, and then got obviously into the women's IC title picture, and now is obviously part of matches, at PLE because of that. So it may be one where sometimes they just park people for no reason. We've seen this happen with several talents, and so this could be one where they sort of decide to sadly park her again, which would be wrong. But I can also see that's just sometimes how it works in this bubble. So basically, my long way around of saying it essentially, for me, between those two, I would favour a draw, because I think you could set up you then would have like over a month set up a really good program for that triple threat to exist, or if you then go along and have a Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella match on TV or whatever, and one of them wins and goes to Clash of Paris to become the ultimate thing. You've got a long time to tell the story.
Yeah.
A long time.
And a lot of twists and turns as well, because, titles could change tonight for a start. But if it didn't in the Raw side of things, then even the rematch that we saw from what we saw on Raw a few months back with Stephanie versus Io Sky is something that I think a lot of fans would like to see as well.
I also kind of think this is what's missing though. Like, they need a villain though, and I think out of the two, Nikki Bella will definitely fit that role like much better, particularly if they do facilitate Brie coming back into the fold. I know there's a bit of heat because she was shown AEW or whatever, and whatever. But I just feel like a lot of programs they do, it's always face, and again, I don't want to be too disrespectful here, but if you're going to go to a scenario where Io Sky just retained tonight and then have a face Stephanie Vaquer, you're not going to get the best promos out of these two.
Yeah.
like you have to rely upon it just being a good wrestling match, which fair enough, it can exist, but it doesn't really make for as an engaging program as someone who, you know, in a nice possible way can just speak the lingo and do what they need to do from that perspective of Nikki Bella. Like I said, particularly the stock increases for me if Brie Bella is part of the package, because I think that as a villain duo is perfect and can be like a good thing to go into a pay-per-view with.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on, we mentioned it earlier on, but just for Andy's sake, essentially, me and Lucas both rewatched Evolution this week, and bringing up Nikki Bella there, of course, her role in it with Ronda, as you say, Brie was a big part of that story as well. I think the two of them do work very well together, and yeah, hopefully, it would be nice to see them back together. I mean, I would have loved to have been them two versus Judgment Day, and maybe that was the plan. Who knows? But yeah, there are still possible surprises.
Sorry, surprises. Is that not one? If Brie Bella was part of the Rumble, that Battle Royal?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, they could even do Twin Magic to win. You know, there could be something like that. You know, so but yeah, possible surprise there. Another one comes from You Know the Deal in the chat, says Lita surprise return for the Battle Royal could be happening. I think the thing is with some of these legends here is that many of them wouldn't have wrestled since that last one, so 7 years ago. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, about Royal, you can protect people and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the names we saw in the first one are nowhere to be seen. They've got their flowers. The whole idea, the first one was the future and the current stars, but let's sprinkle in some legends for a nice pop, but also because they deserve it and they never had this opportunity before. Now many of those have had that opportunity, and this isn't me saying I don't want to see these guys. It's just me saying realistically, I think there will be less legends showing up. Young Edward agrees, says Lita is a good shout though. With words of the Hardy Boys on the last WWE run as well. Quick comment here about the countdown. Of course, we've got Shawn Michaels on the countdown panel at the moment. Just a minute ago, though, we saw Blake Monroe chatting to Jordan Grace backstage, and Jordan Grace was basically saying, "Look, this is a big night. I would like it for you, if you could be out here, essentially, because Fatal Influence, they got the numbers game." Blake was saying, it's your night. I'll leave you to it. But then in the end, basically confirmed that she would be there. So possibly going to play into the result of the NXT Championship match, as we mentioned earlier on. Aiden in the house, good to see you, buddy. Let's go, Mummy, says Aiden as well. Kieran also says, Jordan Grace has someone in her corner, as we've just touched on there as well. So again, keep your comments coming, guys. Loving this chat that we're getting, and we appreciate you joining us for this build-up show. Again, it's all about getting hyped up and in the mood for the PLE, and what a better way to do it than the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling build-up show for Evolution. If you haven't already, please subscribe and check out more of our content. Let's move it on, though, to some more rumors surrounding the Battle Royal, because I do think this is a big one to talk about, really. Not just the people that are in it, but of course people that might show up, and we touched on it a little bit earlier on, but the big one could be Paige here. We could see the return of Paige, the artist, I guess, soon to be formally known as Saraya as well. We saw Andy's face just a moment ago when the name was brought up. I know you're not the biggest fan. We mentioned it, I think, around the Rumble when you gave your reasons then at the time. But realistically, I do think this is a very likely surprise that we'll get. And I think she deserves to be involved. She wasn't involved with the first one. I'm not saying I want her to come back and be in the top of the stories going forward, but I think a little kind of... almost and I know he's not going to like me using this word here, but a Legends run for Paige, I think, would be a nice little touch as well. Seeing as Andy looks like he's itching to speak, I'll let him go first on this one.
No. Deserve is an interesting word when it comes to Paige.
Okay.
I'm not tribalist in any sense whatsoever, but she had a chance to come back to WWE or sign a new contract, and she didn't. And then she went off, and the first interviews that she did, she was very disrespectful towards WWE before she then changed her mind and thought, actually, no, I'll be quite nice about them. When you compare that to the likes of Aleister Black or Miro, as he was then, and Rusev, they never said anything nasty about WWE. They just didn't do it. Whereas Paige played up to the fans that wanted to see the tribalism. And now she's going down the route of, I only signed because they gave a contract to my brother as well. They promised they give a contract to my brother, so why wouldn't you? And I kind of feel like it's a bit like you're trying to change the narrative, which would suggest that she's twerking to come back to WWE. But I just think times have moved on. Even this might be controversial. I'm not sure how much interest I have in AJ Lee coming back, because would she would she look as good as she did then? Now, because the whole reason why she was good was because she was a wrestler in a diva era.
Yeah, I
Whereas,
think Paige is the same as well.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they'd be coming in as top of their time then, but arguably they'd be quite far down in terms of the talent level that's there now. Like
Yeah.
AJ Lee more because she's been out of the game for so long. Is the passion still there? Is it because she wants that kind of one last, like endorphin hit of when she comes out? And Paige is like I don't know, do you have unfinished business, or are you just looking to kind of come back to somewhere that you probably shouldn't have left in the first place? Because she didn't do anything outside of a Wembley
Well,
win.
she wasn't medically cleared though, was she, when she was with WWE? And AEW did clear her, so I don't know if that kind of just factors into it a little bit more. And I mean, the Wembley thing was great; it was a good moment. But you're right, that was kind of all they did. I think the social outcast stuff when it started was good, but it didn't really go anywhere beyond that. But I do agree that wrestling has moved on so much, and this isn't disrespectful, disrespect intended at least for AJ Lee or Paige, but I think it's the same story to be told about Michelle McCool. The same story can be told about Beth Phoenix. Again, fantastic in their day, but and you can only thrive in the environment you're in, right? You can only grow so much. It's the same as women's football, for example. It was banned by the FA, so it can only really have got to a certain level in that time. Not saying women's wrestling was banned, but we know the kind of the cards they were dealt essentially. So in my opinion, Saraya, Paige, and AJ Lee deserve to come back just in the same way that those other kind of wrestlers did in the previous era as well. Lucas, what are your thoughts on this one, mate? What are your thoughts on Paige coming back tonight?
So, as someone who's worked for the Knights, I have a lot of respect for the Knights family. So, I will say that if Paige wants to properly commit to something, she will probably commit and she'll be there 100% of the time. I feel that she's one of many that obviously went to AW, thought the grass was greener, and it did seem. Fatal Influence have arrived altogether. So following in just on the countdown show, I find quite interesting. Nia Jax being shown as well, but yeah, sorry. I think that if they do negotiate a deal where like she's going to be kind of quote unquote all in, you pardon the pun, with it, I think it's a good thing. But I would also say they probably don't need her or AJ Lee. And weirdly, because you mentioned AJ Lee, someone I always think about who I don't feel got enough flowers in her time was Caitlyn. I feel Caitlyn
100%.
very underrated.
Yeah.
It just seems that as wrestling fans, we fall into same thing we do for the men, but with the women, we literally fall into just thinking only like 3 people exist. Like that could be a surprise every time. Like no matter what happens, it's always AJ Lee. Paige.
Yeah. I guess you're always waiting for the big one, though, right? That's what it is. Back when The Rock wasn't to be seen, before he did his comeback in 2011, everybody hoped for him to come back, and CM Punk, obviously, and at the top of the list in a women's kind of division, it would be AJ Lee. So, but you're right, it does mean we do forget about other names. I mean, another one that I've seen kind of floating around recently as well, it was shown in the comments earlier on, is Jazz. I would love if Jazz came back tonight and a nice little cameo as well. Gonna get to some more of his comments. Eve was on the first one, right? I know she was at least involved. I don't know if she was in that match, but she was involved. We're going to get to some other people that were involved there, but might not be in a minute as well. Aiden said, "Sorry, I'm late. Was watching the Chelsea game." Oh yeah, what was the score in that, by the way?
They won 3-0.
You're joking me.
No.
All right, well, this is not the Rebellious Noise football channel. You can go somewhere else for that. But we'll, especially now that Chelsea have won the club. Oh my gosh! Right. Anyway, moving on. I always knew I didn't like that competition. I really want Paige back. She is so good, says Aiden, and also says, this is one I wanted to get to. Kelly in the Battle Royal, apparently. Now, I've heard the opposite because she's come out on Twitter saying, hey, they wanted me in the audience. I was privileged to be, kind of invited. Thanks, but no thanks sort of thing, because it has to be right for me. And I touched on this before you guys came on, but I feel like, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Kelly here, but what does she want? She's not up there in age because she was in the WWE very young. So I'm sure she could still go to, whatever levels she could get to. But what does she expect? These days, they do bring legends back. And I said it earlier on. I don't think the Steiner brothers expected to be on, a match last night, and they were happy with being in the audience. So what does Kelly really want? Because in my opinion, a lot of the legends shown in that first Evolution should be now put to the side and getting the claps at ringside, because there are new people to feature in those spots now. We didn't have as strong as a roster as we did, we do now back in 2018, and it was time for them to get their flowers. And many of them have had their flowers now. It's time to move on. So, guys, what are your thoughts on that kind of, I guess, era of legends showing up and maybe not wanting to accept the applause? Essentially, let's go with you, Andy, first of all.
So this is the same Kelly that then went by Barbie Blank, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to freely admit there was a couple of years where I dipped out of wrestling, which seemed to coincide when Kelly was like probably at her biggest.
Yeah.
Possibly because I just couldn't be bothered with that kind of stuff, because they were getting like squash matches in. It was still the Diva stuff. I don't know, like, I guess good for her if she's holding out for something that that she thinks she deserves. But I just think when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, to WWE's getting accused this weekend of going like, oh, you went all out on Goldberg, and you're like, this is what you would do for like male superstars or Hall of Famers, but you don't do the same. I disagree vehemently. Like, WWE have tried to push like some of the women, the pioneering women like Lita and Trish
in this show, yeah.
And Trish has got a title match.
Yeah.
That they make sure, and it's a shame because like some of the bigger ones either can't do it anymore, or you don't want to do it anymore because they don't kind of like look how they did back then. Goldberg's kept himself in like the nick he is, so he could do a 15-minute match with Gunther and then like walk away. Trish is doing that. She's kept herself, she does the yoga stuff. She keeps herself in but I don't know. Has Kelly been doing ring work for the last however many years to get to that spot? Because there's your answer. If she wants to be in that spot, Triple H and everyone else has got to see that you've been like working to get there. Because the last thing they want to do is put you in the ring with a champion or someone, and you fluff it because you're blowing out your ass after 30 seconds because you're not in ring shape. It is difficult. I did one training session. My God, I have so much respect for anyone who gets in the wrestling ring on a regular basis, because it is just a different kind of fitness and a different kind of technique. And the rust that she would have, and as we said before, she'd be case in point. She's not a wrestler. She was a diva that did the best she could with what attributes she had. So great for the time, but yes, put her at ringside, let her have that pop, because that would be a great moment anyway. I just think, what are you asking for? Like, come on.
I completely agree, and again, I don't want to be disrespectful to a certain type of female performer, but there were those that were kind of held down in a difficult time, and those that were pushed in a time where it was divas like your Kellys, who were a different kind of wrestler to Beth Phoenix. We all knew what was going on, but and again, Kelly deserves her plaudits for what she did do at that time. But I agree. I don't see what else she could be doing on the show. I think a lot of those, because they were like multiple time champions and stuff like that, I would imagine that a lot of those people do look at it and go, well, the Trish thing's happening for me soon, right? Like, so many of those wrestlers from those eras must feel that way. But I think it is somewhat unjustified, and again, I don't want to be harsh in saying that, but Trish Stratus and Kelly are two different things in my opinion. So the closest to the Trish and Lita treatment I think you could give someone would be maybe because of the type of wrestler she was, Victoria. Melina, people like that. I was a fan of Candice Michelle, for example, right? But I thought she improved especially when she became champion. But I don't think Candice Michelle should be going up against, Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, for example. Yeah. It's just not the way it's going to be. Lucas, what are your thoughts on that kind of tier of kind of former WWE diva, maybe expecting a little bit more than they're going to get?
It depends, because there's two ways of reading what she said. Like, I think that we're tying into her potentially wanting more, but I think it might be she didn't want to do it. Like, more so than wanting more. Like, she may not want in the match or whatever, but she just kind of feels like... I think what we have to remember as well with a lot of the women, what they did that the men didn't do because this is how the business works, is the women obviously got to a stage where, you know, the old kind of regime was once a woman got too old to wrestle, they were pretty much discarded from the business. And so a lot of these women, you know, did other avenues, which, you know, back in the day, we know what they do nowadays. Let's be real. We can't talk about it on this episode, sadly.
WrestleCon,
but back
right?
in the day,
Yeah, that's it.
nice save. But back in the day, it was just finding other avenues, other business ventures, you know, to go into. And so, you know, a lot of the women ended up having a career that would have ended when they were still quite young and went into other avenues, no matter what it was. Some of the avenues might have been, you know, sports, fitness, or model, you know, kind of, so using their attributes, let's say. But some women did just become, you know, just got regular jobs, you know, just got regular jobs and moved away from the business.
Yeah.
And so I think what you see with the women, once they have reached kind of being out of the business for a while, is they just have a life outside the business.
Yeah,
They're
just
not
move on.
relying upon wrestling as their income. They're relying upon other bits and pieces. And obviously a lot of them have families, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you've got, it's just done differently than whereas the men, when they left the Fed, you know, they, you know, got released or, you know, decided to quit the Fed in their 30s, they most likely went to TNA wrestling.
Yeah.
Went to work, or just worked the independents for multiple years before maybe getting into AEW or back into TNA or even back into the company. If you look at Ricky Saints, like he was in the WWE like in like early 2010s, you know, jobbing, and then did various different roles, and then went the long way round to get to where he's at now. That opportunity didn't exist for the women.
Yeah.
And potentially we're only at the start of that happening.
Yeah.
Current generation. So I think when I saw that post, I read it more as a case of like, she just is out. She's someone who's out of the business, and this is what she's been offered, and she doesn't want to do it. Like, and she has other things she probably wants to do. Because you know, I think she's got kids. Like, you know, flying to Atlanta to sit in a crowd in a business that you're not really involved in. Doesn't appeal to her.
She is an absolute stalwart of going to wrestling conventions though and doing signings. So I am a little bit shocked that she didn't do this just to kind of get that visibility, and then people will see you at the next one, be like, "Oh, my table's a little bit busier."
It could also be a swerve. Like it
really could be. It could be.
It could also be a swerve.
And if it is, fair play to the girl, you know, like,
or it's the whole. Like,
she's finally she's learned how to work.
Like she was on the crowd spot, and then she posted this, and that might make them reach out and say, "Oh, actually, do you want to be about Battle Royal or something?"
Could be.
So it could be that, but I don't know. I heavily doubt Kelly Kelly's the new Hulk Hogan.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
But yeah, but in terms of that, I do feel that there were divas and there were female wrestlers, and Kelly Kelly was very much a diva, but she gained a lot of respect from the female wrestlers though. Definitely towards the end, I know Beth Phoenix had said like multiple times, Kelly Kelly did work her ass off basically, to get to where she was. So I think that, and she was young. Like if you get out, I mean, she was like a teenager.
Yeah.
Wasn't she? I think she's our age now. I don't know how old you are.
Yeah.
She's barely like late 30s now. So, but she's out of the business. It's one of those. She's out of the business. So, if she doesn't want to sit in the crowd, it's not really going to affect too much. She just sit in another crowd, maybe at AEW.
Well, there's another name, by the way, that I would much rather see that never gets mentioned because she has been out of it. She went into the Hall of Fame. I would love to see Stacy Keibler back in some way, shape, or form because growing up, you had Trish and Lita, and then you had Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler. Stacy Keibler was a fantastic manager, / valet, which unfortunately, at that time, that was where a lot of women got pushed into, was being a valet or like kind of just being there with the males. And I think she would totally be fine coming back and doing that role again because it's not a role that's like beneath anyone. It's just, and look at Melina, like she was fantastic in that role for Eminem. Lita with the Hardys or S.A. Rios, that's how they all kind of got started. But Stacy Keibler very rarely gets mentioned in any conversation about wanting to see her back. She was never amazing. Don't get me right again, similar to you. Oh my God, if you put her in a ring with Rhea Ripley, she's going to get absolutely destroyed. Not in any way that you'd want to watch. You'd just be cringe.
Uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah, but I'd still love to see her back in somewhere. Like, again, if she wanted to come back and sit in the front row of the crowd,
Yeah,
I'd
that
be
was
absolutely fine. I'd be like, oh, that's a cool moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she's someone that doesn't get thought about because she was one of those that early on felt like she's way done. Like, you know, she was dating George Clooney and stuff like that. And going
Yeah.
like it felt really alien to WWE. So let's get to some more of these comments here as well. Young Edward says, I have a feeling that Paige could win and go for the title. Then maybe with a return of AJ Lee, set up a championship match of Paige and AJ Lee. Sounds for a great match. I mean, that really brings me back to 2012 or something like that. So you never know. It could happen. Aiden says, whoever comes second in a battle royal will win the Royal Rumble. Mark my words. All right, I might have to write that down, Aiden, as a prediction. Ava to appear, but that's just me throwing a shout out as she is The Rock's daughter. Yeah, possibly that I could kind of see Ava at least maybe being there for the NXT match to kind of hold up the title or something like that. Tony's in the house, says no to Paige. She is useless and gone backwards. She has nothing to WWE in 2025. Come on, Tony, say how you really feel, mate. But we appreciate your comments. Somewhat similar to what Andy was saying earlier on, but maybe with a bit more of a sharper tongue there. And hey, I'm not saying you said that exactly, Andy. Aiden, though, says these are my predictions for shock appearances. Kelly, Michelle McCall, I think that's a good shout. Mickey James, possible. Cameron, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Lita, the Iconics. Yes, I would love to see the Iconics, and I think that is possible now that they're in TNA again as well. Alicia Fox, good shout. Dana Brooke, maybe, because again she's in TNA, and Ava.
Question:
What is Cora
what do they do?
doing?
They do have some of these people that have gone to TNA and wrestle under new names. When they come in, because something they did with obviously Fandango, who's now recognized as JDC,
and Elias as well,
and Elijah, is they've had them appear as their TNA names.
Yeah,
but Fandango came out to his theme, didn't he, at first, and then did the whole "I'm now JDC" kind of thing. So they've done both ways, haven't they? They've done keep the TNA name, but then obviously have the WWE name. Because with like Dana Brooke, she's now Ash Pro Elegance. So would she come out to that? I'm saying the Iconic.
It's a bit easier with the Iconics because it was also part of their catchphrase, so they could call them the inspiration. They could do the iconic pose, maybe, like and say iconic when they did it. But yeah, it's always an interesting conversation, and whether or not, you know, like even you got to think like Dolph Ziggler, for example, is another example of someone that's in TNA at the moment, but I just don't see being part of this kind of crossover because it's kind of almost too raw, if that kind of makes sense as well. Aiden thinks they will use their TNA name, so right.
They've got a TNA contract, so I think they'd have to, and it would just come up with the graphic, and then it would be up to the commentators to fill in the gaps, basically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well. We've touched on the Battle Royal quite a bit there. Again, this is the field for who we know is going to be involved. Most of us think that it's probably going to be a Stephanie Vaquer win or maybe a Nikki Bella win. Who knows? There could be a surprise waiting for us. Let's move into the next match, though. Rhea Ripley going up against the world champion in Io Sky. We mentioned it earlier on. Io, of course, a big part of Evolution 1. Great to see the progress that she's had in her career. She spent some time away from WWE, but has come back even stronger. Will she be holding on to the gold? In my opinion, anytime Rhea gets near the belt, I fear, and this isn't because I don't like Rhea. Lovely girl, interviewed her, big fan of her work, but sometimes you've got to keep certain people away from the main title picture. And every time they get close to it, I think, oh, wait, it's because the big show's around the corner, right? SummerSlam, she's going into it as champ. So I've got a feeling that Rhea is going to win this one here. We'll throw it over to you first on this one, Lucas. What do you think? Is Io coming out of it as champ, or are we getting a new champ?
I hope so, because if Rhea wins, it again just shows out what it is. It just shows that the only thing this company can do is to put belts back on people that had them like 6 months ago. But I guess that if they want that as a talking point, that's something they would do. Particularly, it's linked. I guess it's linked again to who wins a battle royal to an extent as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think Io's been done a bit dirty with this title reign. I mean, being deadly honest. She hasn't defended the belt since WrestleMania. I think she only had about one match since WrestleMania. She's basically been the side player to all the other feuds in the division. And yes, we know obviously Liv Morgan is injured, and that's obviously caused an entire revival of this show. I will not get over this. The fact that Liv Morgan was apparently meant to be in every single match, according to the feedback. So they're showing highlights of Bayley versus Io Sky from last year's WrestleMania, as you speak. I feel she's been done a bit dirty, and I think that, like if she is to lose, like surely I would say, look, let's build up a program for her to lose. And that can be facilitated by this Battle Royal win, because then she'll have a number of weeks to be able to build up that feud with someone and then lose the belt down the line. But because it's WWE and because of how they just seem to just constantly just repeat things that they've already done, we're probably going to have Rhea Ripley as champion again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem the more likely of the two. As you say, Io was the whole story going into WrestleMania that she was the forgotten wrestler, and now she kind of has been forgotten for real. So it would be a shame. Aiden, though, wants to see Mummy always on top. Also says Rhea should have won in London. Young Edward says maybe, just going back to the surprises, get a Shayna Baszler return. It would be good. You haven't seen much of her recently, but it would be a massive shock since she's apparently backstage. Quite a lot to talk about her with Ronda as well. Just to quickly touch on Shayna. Look, I love Shayna. I think it would be cool, but not this year. If she is truly working backstage as it seems, then it would be a little bit too soon to kind of bring her back as a surprise. So look, love the comment, love the suggestion. I just don't think they're going to do it this year. But watch this space for maybe Evolution 3, I guess, or a future Royal Rumble or something like that as a surprise appearance. Andy, thoughts on the world title match? What do you think is going to go down?
Yeah, I think I share the same fears as you guys have kind of alluded to there about it moving back onto Rhea. But the frustrating thing is, it's not even a case of doing the same thing over and over again. It's the fact that you then stifle anyone else ever getting to that point. Because if you want Io to kind of keep progressing, because she has got herself over with the crowd, whether it's the kind of over emoting thing that she does, but it's worked. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you do get there. And if people are finally rallying behind her, now's not the time to do it, because let her ride that wave up, and then you go, Rhea will be fine. Whatever match she has at SummerSlam, she'll be fine. It doesn't need the title. If she's that popular, people will tune in anyway.
Yeah.
Io arguably needs the belt right now. And again, I think there's much fresher matchups to have her against anyone else other than like Rhea then going like, all right, Rhea's got the belt, who's going to take it off her? Because are we just going to wait till she gets injured again because that's how they got it off her the last time? It just feels like they book her into a corner where her booking is almost as bad as Prime Cena, like Super Cena's was, because they did the same with Bianca Belair where they didn't want to make her look weak at all. Which then just kind of gets people. She's lucky that people didn't turn on her as like other people have had it.
Good point.
I would rather see Io keep it and then go up against Stephanie Vicaire, but yeah, because I guess the Queen of the Ring, Jade's going to go up against the SmackDown champion, right? So the Raw one's kind of open. Whoops, drop a pen. So the Raw kind of. Maybe you do a multi-woman match then just to freshen things up and have it. So maybe there's a screwy finish where you introduce someone just to keep it kind of rolling on for a few more weeks till we get to SummerSlam, because is 3 weeks enough time to get someone on without them going, we're going to do another tournament, because that's what we like to do when we need someone like in a bit of a pinch. And then you've got the next 3 weeks of Raw sorted out. But I would much rather see someone get involved and then you can have a triple threat. But then again, is that too reminiscent of WrestleMania? It's weird booking. I wouldn't have had Rhea in this position, but here we are.
It's also strange as well that the Battle Royal that kind of leads into not the next PLE, but the one after it, So it kind of throws a spanner in the works there as well. But hey, by the time we see the Battle Royal, it might become really clear what we think is going to happen. But we'll have to see, because I imagine the Battle Royal is going to go on before it, but you never know.
Yeah.
Aiden says Io should join back up with the Kabuki Warriors. Good to see the Kabuki Warriors back together again. But yeah, let's see where to go with Io next. Hopefully she keeps the title, in my opinion. Let's move on to the next one. We've alluded to the SmackDown side of things there. So let's bring it over to a big feud on the SmackDown side of things, called Jade Cargill and Naomi going at it in a bit of a grudge feud. I'm all right with this. I know it's kind of almost dragging out an old storyline in some ways, but I do think it's because there's more to come. I said this on Friday night's big preview, and what do you know? They've now added Bianca Belair to the mix. Now, I was speculating the other day that, again, finally it's going to come true. Bianca's going to come back and she's going to turn heel because, as Andy rightly said, you know, it got close there with people starting to turn against her. And, you know, Rhea's been lucky to not have it happen to her so far. But Bianca, they took her away for a little bit. She had that finger injury, of course, a little while back. But I honestly felt like this is a time for her to screw Jade Cargill and say, I was in on it all along. There's two ways to go from that. Maybe Naomi didn't know that and took the heat and she's annoyed with Bianca. Or, like, you know, she could be annoyed with Bianca as well. Or they can basically team back up and it just becomes Bianca versus Jade Cargill just in time for SummerSlam. But the issue you've now got is Jade Cargill, as we've mentioned, since winning Queen of the Ring, is now in a championship match. So this is where these two matches start to blur in together for me here, because I actually think there's a possibility that Naomi cashes in tonight and becomes champion. And therefore, it creates a triple threat at SummerSlam between these three ladies, where Naomi's in it because she's the champ, Jade's in it because she's got the kind of anger and has the number one contendership, and Bianca's brought back into it because she's got a personal beef with both of them, essentially.
But wouldn't they then Tiffany involved as well?
So Tiffany, I think, could just go into a completely different storyline. You know, they don't always get the return leg, if you will. But we'll get to the kind of championship side of it in just a moment. But I just thought I'd explain it now because they kind of do bleed into each other for me. It might be wishful thinking because I think it'd be a fantastic way to end the show. And I've got specifics for that I'll get to as well. But sticking to Jade and Naomi and Bianca, do you think Bianca's in this essentially to finally turn heel? Throw it over to you first, Andy.
I think, to be honest, we've not had, in my opinion, a satisfying like tie-up of this storyline, because yes, we might have seen them battling back and forward for a little while, but at the end of the day, if someone threw me off onto a car, I would be pretty pissed off at them for a little while. So it's kind of realistic that you would kind of go back and forward. And Naomi feels like she's kind of been jilted in the whole thing, and like, you know, she's got her own motivations behind it. So I don't mind this matchup at all. And I also think the whole fact that the link between the two of them does come from Bianca. It does feel kind of natural, and it keeps Bianca around because obviously she's had that injury that she's still, like, it sounds like she's pretty close to coming back from. So I think it's a good matchup. I think this is one of the ones that's actually got a bit of history behind it, so it's needed on the card, because you don't want to just throw matches together for a premium live event. You want there to be some sort of thread that you can hold on to and have one of those killer promo packages at the beginning. This should be it. But I think it makes sense if Naomi did. I know you're going to go on to it, but if Naomi cashes in and it kind of really messes up the whole perspective. But in this match, I feel like Jade's got to win because they've got to keep her momentum going, whereas Naomi doesn't need a win because the whole point is she's a heel and she's got the briefcase, so she doesn't need momentum. She can just be opportunistic. It's fine. She doesn't need it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, going into it before knowing that Bianca was going to be the ref, you know, a big factor to me was the no holds barred thing as well, where I was thinking, well, maybe that kind of plays into it. But as you say, Jade needs it more, if anything. But if there's a way to get out of Jade winning, it would be to kind of screw her with Bianca. But Naomi getting away with it and then also cashing in is a very good night for Naomi. So maybe that won't be the case. A few comments here before we throw it over to Lucas's opinions on this match and this long-standing rivalry. Christopher says Jade Cargill wins. Aiden is not a fan of Bianca, thinks Bianca is very boring. John Stevens in the house. Good to see you, John. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Says, something big needs to happen tonight. Great American Bash was mid and Saturday night's main event not great. I thought they were entertaining shows, but I do think this is going to be the big one where we might see some surprises as well. Great American Bash was better than Saturday night's main event, says Aiden. And let's see. Actually, and Evolution will top everything, says Aiden. John thinks that, well, John has high hopes, I should say, for Evolution as well. I have high hopes for it because I think there might be a few twists and turns. But Lucas, do you think it's going to take place in this match here?
Yeah, no, I think I would have saved the surprise of Bianca for the night, though. I don't know why they had to do it last night.
Yeah.
They felt they probably had to have a woman's segment and like a G for Evolution.
It was great, by the way. I love that little attack by ringside. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, but I would have just have the attack and just, I mean, obviously they have, particularly around WrestleMania season, they did go to that well one too many times with all these crazy brawls. And I've said before that I still struggle. It takes me out of it when they do the whole 10 men can't keep control of like one woman. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I hate when they do the whole it leaves and it comes back again. Like, they've probably done it a bit too much. But I felt like last night was a good example. But I would have just had that be the brawl thing, and then have Nick be on the phone, and then tonight reveal a surprise. It feels we get so little surprises in wrestling now. But yeah, in terms of this match, like, I think it makes sense. Like, I get that it is, I think for a big show, they always like having this, WrestleMania rematch is always like a good tag, to sell a match. And they haven't like overly done them in matches. Whereas, we have to remember when we had, Vince's WWE, this match would have been done about 4 times by now. Because there was the situation where people knew you had the match on one show, it would go on to the next month and the next month most likely, and then it'd have rematches and tags and all that kind of stuff in between. But because nowadays we don't get to see a lot of people wrestle, because about Triple H books like so few matches, it means that they have actually done their good job to kind of keep them apart in terms of in ring. And obviously the no holds barred thing, traditionally, it means that it leads to lots of interference and stuff. But I guess because they've added the special guest referee to it, we're more likely going to see something from Bianca. I'm not too sure if they turn a heel here. It would probably benefit the program if they do. But I can also see them not doing so, because she still does ship like a hell of a lot of merch. And they may just decide she's just going to become like the female John Cena, where some crowds will just boo her, and some crowds will cheer her. Now, in terms of a cash-in, I guess it links into my prediction for the next match anyway, but I would think that because of the somewhat failure of last night when it comes to the Goldberg situation and the Rollins thing, I think they might just pull the trigger tonight and just do something here where Trish wins and then Naomi cashes in on Trish. Because it gets the pop of the show of the title change. It protects Tiffany from a cash-in, because I still kind of think Money in the Bank probably needs to have a year off next year. I think that, there's only so many times you can do the same kind of thing. And it then gets Naomi. I think Naomi can get really over from cashing in on Trish. Like, really over. To the point where she could go around saying she retired Trish Stratus. And then you set up even that as a potential program down the line. Because I do think they need to, as we said this previously, like with Trish and with Lita, like, just offer them full-time contracts. Like, they're still good at it. They're still good enough to do it. And, like, they want to do it. Because even when I saw when Trish hit Inside the Ropes last year, obviously a lot of the questions to the platform, the people that were there were around. It was just after she had done the cage match with Becky Lynch. But we'll say just after, about 2 months afterwards. A lot of questions were like, when she came back, will she do the Rumble, will she do this, blah, blah. And she was just like, yes. She had basically anything they want to offer. So just, I don't know why they can't just take them up on these deals. Like, they both still want to do it. And they're very good at it. So,
I mean, I really enjoyed Trish's run as a heel, by the way. I thought it was a kind of breath of fresh air for a way to use a legend, because sometimes it can be overkill. And I think that kind of thinking is led to a lot of people thinking this is so clear cut. Of course, Tiffany's going to win. It's not a big built feud or anything like that. But I came into this weekend thinking that both those things, or wanting both those things to happen, right? I wanted secretly, we talked about it a lot last night. And again, there's a lot of speculation around what might have gone down if Seth hadn't got injured. I actually think that Seth might not be injured, and he will cash in eventually, and it might be a big swerve. But that's another story for another day. But if it is, or if it isn't, who knows? There was rumors going around that maybe the end of the show was changed and that therefore Seth would have cashed in. Goldberg, Iconic, holds up the title, but then it's quickly sorted out by taking it off of him, essentially. Now, tonight, we could get the exact same thing, and I kind of predicted the same thing for both nights. I did think Trish wins, and the big story is that people go, what the heck? Trish won? And then, as you say, Naomi kind of gets the rub by doing this kind of really dastardly heel move, and then setting up this triple threat potentially at SummerSlam as well.
My thing is, I think because they've done quite a shoddy job of building up this show, I think the smart thing to do would be to try to build up the next shows like better. So I think if they can already get the wheels in motion for whether a SummerSlam or Clash in Paris feud kind of going from this show, that's good because it gives them a lot of time.
Yeah.
I also feel that the 2 world title matches are the 2 weakest builds I think we've ever seen for world title matches. Like genuinely, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Do you want a match? Yeah. Well, it ain't the attitude there, Emil. That was basically that was it.
Like,
that was the build, basically.
You know, I get the whole the champions choosing thing, but I don't know. I just found it the way it was executed was so lazy. Like the segment they had when they announced the match with Trish and Tiffany, just awful.
Yeah.
It was beyond awful. I don't know who was writing that. But yeah, hopefully they don't work for the company anymore. Genuinely terrible stuff. The one between Ear and Rhea wasn't much better. I think the Tiffany and Trish one suffered also because it was pre-recorded, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was on the SmackDown that was pre-recorded. But yeah, like it's just genuinely like a non-feud at this point. Nothing's happened to really escalate it more than just like, oh yeah, Tiffany wants to face her. It's like, okay, but then other people want to face Tiffany. It doesn't make any. I think it's kind of a slap in the face. A lot of the women that have been there, doing the bits in the background. And
this is it feels like a proper afterthought, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like it's a world title though. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah,
it's one where I really wish they could have had like a multi-woman match before maybe, or something different, something just to. They do. It's happening quite often. Like even like last night, like one of the biggest criticisms for me was like, 4 men's singles matches, like on a show, like that's it. Like there's no, because looking back at old cards, like, even if some of the stuff was bad, it was still like you got variety. You got a tag match, you got a street fight, you got a triple threat, you got you had something that you can go, oh okay, this is worth me maybe like tuning in for. But it just feels sometimes they're a bit just like, no, we're gonna have all world title matches. I'm gonna be one-on-one singles matches for eternity, and we're just gonna give them away to the same people that just keep having them anyway. But even if it was Liv Morgan, she just bloody had the belt. Like,
yeah, true.
Like you're still talking about someone who just had the belt like 5 minutes ago. Other people do work there.
yeah. I mean, we could get something slightly refreshing if Trish wins, which is a weird thing to say, but so many people expected it to be so straightforward. But I think again, last night's things do play into it. I mean, maybe not in a way because what was planned might just still go ahead. Because if they probably weren't going to do both of them, and if they were going to do Seth and Goldberg, then they wouldn't have been planning for this one. So it really has kind of thrown the spanner in the works. Got to throw it over to Andy, but before we do, Andy, I just want to ask you to let people know where they can find you. Of course, you're a very valued special guest here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Always great having you on for these build-up streams, but I want people to be able to kind of find out more about you as well. So let the people know where they can find more of your content.
By the way, just before I plug myself,
go on.
Big shout out to Lucas. Get some love in the comments there, by the way. It's some lovely stuff in there.
Oh, is it? Oh, I ain't got to that yet. All right, let's get to comment then. All right, hold on. Oh, we've got some really lovely. Let's get to the comments first. You're very humble of you there, Andy. I'll bring it back to you in a moment. John says, I just subscribe. Excuse me. The commentary is interesting and informative. I've been wasting my time with other live wrestling shows on YouTube. Thank you and keep it up. That is such a lovely comment, John. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. Always good to see the old faces in the comments, but always appreciate when new ones pop in. And stay tuned for future streams as well. Appreciate that. And if you're like John and you're new here, what you're doing, subscribe as well. Young Edward said Lucas is not only a great wrestler but one of the best commentators I've seen. Look at that, all the praise for Lucas there. Aiden says, unlike last night, I think Tiffy needs to win tonight. John also says, where are you based out of? We're all in the UK, all over the UK. I'm originally from London, now living in Essex. Andy, go on, you kind of dox yourself, mate.
I'm up in Newcastle, so I'm about as far away as I can get from Scott.
The beauty of technology. And Lucas?
Yeah, I'm a Londoner.
So that's where we're from. We like to have a little bit of an international flavour when we can, but yeah, mainly from the Brits. Andy is the GOAT. Look at that! All the praise for Andy now. Hey, can I get some praise here, guys?
Yeah,
come on, guys, give me some praise. Andy, Corpus Christi, Texas. Fantastic. Again, always good to get that international flavor on these shows as well. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to see more from Andy, you can find him at
Wrestles. I'm a bit more elusive these days. I'm taking a bit of a break from doing the Friday night features over on Wrestling Royalty, but they will come back, I'm sure, at some point. But it's lovely to be here and just kind of chat with you guys, as it always is. But yeah, if you want to see some more sort of written form, go check out WrestleSphere, where we have a lot of interviews with different people, whether it be TNA, WWE, and the occasional AEW, as well as British independent wrestling. So if you're interested in a little bit more, go check out WrestleSphere. If you want to know a little bit more about me in general, you can check out my running channel, which is Roller Coaster of Running. Lots of content there, which is just me going out sweating a lot on different runs, whether it be in America or the UK. So be good to have you there. No live commentary. It's just little sort of 15-minute videos that you can check out on your lunch break or something. But wrestling wise, I feel like this is kind of becoming my new second home.
And we love opening the door to you, Andy. If you want to find out more and you get those links again, find him, as you can see, in the little scroll bar at the bottom at Sporzy19 on social media as well, on X. So, a pleasure to have you with us, mate. And on that note, lay it on thick, mate. Let us know what's going to happen in what may be the main event. Maybe not, but regardless, it is for the women's championship. Who do you think's coming out of this as champion? Are we going to get some crazy shenanigans in the end? Do other matches play into this one? What are your thoughts?
I think this is just a chance for Tiffany to be kind of solidified as champion and beat a legend and sort of boost her star up. And, you know, when you look at Evolution, we are only on the second one, so it kind of feels like you've still got that link to the past, and Trish can still go. We've seen her probably most recently be the most involved out of the legends, so I just think I can't see past Tiffany winning this one. But yeah, maybe the wrinkle does come from a cash-in is more that where I'll be watching, because let's face it, if you're Naomi, surely tonight's your night. You've got 3 championship matches in terms of both Raw, SmackDown, and then you've got NXT if you wanted to. You can get involved in any of them. You've got your own match, sure, but like, let's face it, you should be switched on. In sort of like, if this is a real life thing, this is your night. You can pick whichever one looks like the champion is completely out. So this should be a big night for Naomi, and it feels like Evolution should be the place where you strap a rocket to someone different. So I think this is maybe the chance for Naomi.
So I think it would be very disappointing if it was just a straight up Tiffany win now, because I've talked myself into this fantasy booking almost, but the story is there to tell. You know, like they literally have a swerve to give us. Not only with Trish winning the title, but they've already set the scene for these 2 kind of future stars, but at the top of their game almost already, with Tiffany and Jade, and how they're kind of, again, the future, and they're going to go one-on-one, and like, and then to have the shock of, wait, what, Jade and Trish, and then go, oh, it all makes sense, Naomi and Jade again, and now we've got Bianca or something like that. So I think it's a great story to tell. I'm just not sure if we're going to see it. John does think we will see it, though. John thinks that Trish will win and that Naomi will cash in. Naomi can cash in. What was that, sorry?
Have I talked him round, I think?
Yeah, I think, Naomi could cash in on Tiffany as well, but I do think the kind of switcheroo with Trish would be quite fun to tell as well. Aiden says, I'm not getting praised because I disrespected Scotland too much. I don't remember ever disrespecting Scotland, Aiden. How dare you? Every time you bring Scottish praise to this stream, I let it slide. I say, fine, I'm friendly with the Scots. My name is Scott, for, you know.
I'm half Scottish, though, so maybe that's why I got the praise.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is?
You're wearing blue as well.
Yeah, you're bound to
true.
be being half Scottish all the way up there, mate. You might as well, you know.
Yeah.
Right, but... you got the best of both worlds, I guess, there in Newcastle. You're on the way to the border. But look, love Scotland. What more can I say? All right, Drew McIntyre's cool. Joe Hendry's cool. Half of Andy's just as cool as the other half. All right, we'll go with that. And Aiden, even though you sort of diss me, you're cool as well. Always good to have your comments, mate. I never disrespect Drew. I love Drew McIntyre. I've even interviewed the man on this channel. There you go, cheap plug. Go and check it out.
We
Guys,
might have another match for tonight. You versus Aiden.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Token
Me versus like a team of Scottish superstars and Aiden as their manager or something like that. You know. Anyway, I don't know where this storylines come from, but it's here.
This is about the women, damn it.
Yeah, that's it. Or who knows? Maybe some of what was it? Secret Harvest. Maybe I'll have a match with them or something like that. Right. That pretty much brings us to the end of the card. And again, it's a really, really fun card to predict. It's been a great show here on the build-up, and I'm expecting a great show at Evolution as well. Yes, there were things about Saturday night's main event that made me scratch my head a little bit. There are rumours flying around about potential last-minute changes because of injury. So you can't hold that on WWE too much. But even if there are certain things not planned for tonight, I think they might have to go the extra mile to make up for to last night if that is the case. Otherwise, I mean, look, they've been good shows so far, but the idea of this was surely to steal headlines away from AEW. And there've been a few headlines, but AEW's, in my opinion, have been far bigger. So let's see if WWE can pull something off tonight. I don't doubt that the women will perform incredibly. I don't doubt that we'll have great matches, but are we going to get a nice kind of surprise or twist or turn or, you know, some sort of extremely kind of exciting storyline progression? It will be exciting to see. Oh, now I get it, Aiden. I said it was funny when Drew got cashed in on. It was funny.
It was funny, yeah.
It was funny. It was a great part. It was a great story to tell. It was silly, you know, but hey, big fan of Drew, and I was happy for Damien to get his opportunity as well.
So, like, do we see them doing like Evolution on more of a regular basis?
I hope so. Maybe not every year, but it's been far too long since the first one, that's for sure. What do you think, Andy?
I think it's a really good one to have in your back pocket when maybe you've got too many hot angles that are for the men and you're not being able to give. The one wish I would have, though, is if they are going to do it, say, on an annual basis, give the build-up a proper go, because don't get to this stage and you're scrambling in the last week to get a little bit more, because the women don't deserve to have a half-empty building. You know, they work their asses off all the time, and there's so many stories you could tell, and I think they get a lot of it right, especially on NXT, but I do feel like they could have done even more here with a little bit more time. So if they are going to do it, that's the one thing I would say.
So the funny thing is, rumours about Evolution 2 came out a long time ago, before the AEW kind of counter programming, really. Maybe that was always their plan to do it that way, but it didn't feel like that at first.
Last weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, I'm with Andy. I think it needs a bigger build next time round, but I do think there is a opportunity here, as you also say, Ed, and to kind of get more out of people that are kind of getting lost in the shuffle. And hopefully tonight's going to be a great example of that. Last time round, it was basically, hey, look what wrestling is at the moment for women, and this is a celebration of a new era. Well, this time round, it's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, last time the event did spur out of obviously the fact that they were doing the Saudi shows, and that at that time the women couldn't perform them. Obviously now the women can perform,
yeah,
and they've had several matches and stuff, but there is still obviously the fact that they can't perform freely in a possible way. But this time around, I think it has come around because of the fact they've added loads of belts. They've got like a very, very big women's roster they want to show off.
Yeah.
So I do feel that build-up wise, as well, I think didn't the show only get announced like end of May, didn't it?
Yeah.
Really quick turnaround to expect them to like sell out a venue. I think if they want to do another one, they definitely should give it more of a build. Someone's got a sign saying I got lost on my way to the Beyonce concert.
So that was another thing as well. Yeah, clashing with that tonight. It's a great sign.
I think it. You know, I don't think it needs to be maybe like every year, maybe every other year or whatever. Yeah. But I do definitely need to A, announce it in advance, and B, make sure they have stuff like building up, like to going towards it. Potentially, I think it's one where, because of how good the fan base is over here, I think it's one we could hold. Being deadly honest.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of female promotions over here as well as over in Europe, and we do eat up WWE events over here. We do ship tickets, so I think it's one they could potentially move it to being international.
I'd argue that there's other ones that they should reintroduce as well, because when you look back, the Cruiserweight Classic I thought was fantastic, and then they've never done anything like it again. The Mae Young Classic, when it was an actual like self-sustained thing, I'd even argue that there is a way that they should be showcasing the tag teams is do a tag team championship tournament where it's actually like 1 night or 2 night thing over a weekend, like the British stuff that they did when we had the one weekend. I miss that. And it's kind of like you want to keep things fresh, throw us something like that. And like, there's so many good tag teams, but they're not booking it correctly. As we've saw, probably one of the best matches of WWE this year was that random TLC match they've had on SmackDown. They should have had that on Mania. Like, it's just, there's no argument it should have been. But give the tag teams like a whole tag team, like a Dusty Rhodes Classic over one weekend, and get people like really tuned into it, and then swap that out for Evolution, like something like that.
The good thing, especially the tag teams, because they could reach out. Obviously, now they've got the WID program. Obviously, they could have ID Talent, Evolve, TNA, the main roster. Like, there's actually the ceiling's actually quite high for it. But it's just obviously we probably haven't got enough time to discuss it all now. Evolution is about to start in 5 minutes, but it is just the historic abuse of tag team wrestling that WWE have done. Well, it is historic. It's been literally since Day Off. They decided, that it's not something they've ever really wanted to promote, and so it would have to get out of that mindset. But they did the same for the women. Because let's not forget, the women used to get 3-minute matches on TV, and then were willed out to have bikini, mud contests, all that kind of stuff on pay-per-views on a regular basis. Is Joe Test on comms tonight?
It would make sense.
Yeah, he's making his way.
He's making his way. Is a commentary on the stage? Just so you know, I absolutely love commentary tables on the stage. I hate them.
Well, like the old Raw one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think he's on his way there, isn't he? Yeah. So, as you say though, Lucas, we are mere minutes away as Joe's Test makes his way out to his adoring public. We're going to throw it over to a comment here from Aiden as well. Predictions overall for the night are Lyra, Zaruka, Valkyria, Tiffy, Jade, and JC Jane and Mammy. That's a very, very kind of mixed field as far as kind of people somewhat obvious, but some kind of out of the blue. Zaruka winning the tag team titles would be a big statement. I mean, they could be used on NXT. Don't get me wrong. Lyra is kind of. She's got a good chance, but I think Becky seems the most likely. My heart is on Bayley, but some good predictions there, Aiden. As always, appreciate your comments, mate. As I say, we are pretty much getting there now, so let's start wrapping up here. Let's fracking get it, says Matthew Garcia. It sounds like you are very much in the mood for Evolution, and as I say, this show is all about that, getting you hyped up and in the mood for the PLE. I hope we've managed to do it. I'm excited for the PLE. This conversation has been really fun with, of course, Lucas and Andy. Once again, thank you, boys, for joining me tonight. I just want to say, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please go and check out Wrestling Royalty and WrestleSphere to find more from Andy as well. Oh, Bayley is kicking off the show, says Kieran. We're about to get into what appears to be the Intercontinental Championship match between Bayley, Lyra, and Becky. So we're starting off hot and heavy. It's going to be a good one, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.